Chapter 5183. Devil Stream. Just the name alone was enough to tell that it was an extremely terrifying place. The cursed doll had described Devil Stream as one of the most terrifying places in the underwater world. It was obvious how dangerous that place was. Lin Feng asked. Did the Sea Maiden want to die together with those people? No. The cursed doll shook its head and said, The Sea Lady knew more about the Devil's Stream. She wanted to use the Devil's Stream to escape, so she brought those greedy people to the Devil's Stream. She did manage to get rid of those greedy people, but unfortunately, she didn't manage to leave the Devil's Stream. Lin Feng asked. Did Devil's Stream devour her life? The cursed doll nodded and said, Yes, Devil's Stream even devoured her. Don't you think that Devil's Stream is very scary? It's said that her obsession was very strong, and it didn't dissipate even after her death. Every once in a while, she would cry. Is it true that she cries every once in a while? Lin Feng asked curiously. The cursed doll said, I've seen it twice in the past, but it was a very long time ago, spanning several great eras. This is the third time I've heard it. What I mean by every once in a while is actually a very long time ago. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. If it only happened once in a few eras, it was very normal that no one knew about the Sea Maiden. Lin Feng asked. The Sea Maiden's obsession never dissipated. Didn't her clansmen try to find her back then? I don't know. The era of the Sea Lady's existence was rather chaotic. Legend has it that the Sea Lady is the daughter of the Sea God, but during that era, there were many experts capable of killing the Sea God. Perhaps the Sea Lady's clansmen died even earlier than her? The cursed doll said. Damn, if that's really the case, then it's a tragedy. Lin Feng said helplessly. Anyway, there were so many wars that it was unimaginable. Therefore, at that time, there were many experts. Times make heroes. The harsher the environment, the more it could train people. However, although there were many experts, the speed at which the experts were replaced was also very fast. This was because no one dared to say that they were invincible in the world. Since they couldn't be invincible, being killed by others was a common thing. Look, it's a woman! At this moment, someone couldn't help but exclaim. Above the sea, dark brown fog was rolling. Within the dark brown fog stood a woman in white. Her appearance couldn't be seen clearly. Only her sobbing could be heard. Come, let's go take a look. A cultivator said. Following that, a good number of cultivators quickly flew towards the ocean region, wanting to find out what was going on. How strange. Could it be that the Sea Maiden can leave the Devil's Stream? The cursed doll was puzzled. Let's go take a look, Lin Feng said. The cursed doll had no objections. Lin Feng, the cursed doll, and the small sun flew towards the sea. Bad guy. At that moment, Lil Sun said angrily. Lin Feng followed the small sun's gaze and looked into the distance. He saw a cultivator with a pair of dragon horns. It was one of the 5 experts who had besieged the small sun. He was a dragon expert, but Lin Feng didn't know if he was a cultivator from the West Sea Dragon Palace. Lin Feng couldn't be sure. In another direction, Lin Feng saw the female cultivator with the hot body. Lin Feng didn't know who she was, but she had participated in the battle against the small sun. There's another guy over there. The cursed doll pointed in another direction. It was the middle-aged cultivator with the wings on his back. Of the 5 experts who had besieged the small sun, 3 of them were here. They seemed to have noticed the small sun. However, when they saw Lin Feng and the cursed doll beside the small sun, they didn't act rashly. Why are these guys chasing you? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask, puzzled. The small sun shook his head. He was still too young and didn't understand these things. However, the small sun was extremely sensitive. Who had good intentions towards him? Who had ill intentions towards him? He could clearly distinguish between them. The 5 experts who had besieged him back then were full of ill intentions towards him. Therefore, when the small sun saw them again, he said that they were bad guys. What else could it be? It's definitely because of the sun in his body. I don't know what it is. It seems to be a magic treasure, but it doesn't seem to be a magic treasure. It seems to be an ability manifested by his bloodline, but it doesn't seem to be an energy manifested by his bloodline. It's really too mysterious, but no matter what it is, I guess it must be related to the small sun's father, the ancient Sun Emperor," the cursed doll said. Lin Feng also agreed with this point. Lin Feng said, "Ignore them for now. If they know what's good for them, they shouldn't think about capturing the small sun. If they don't, I don't mind teaching them a lesson later." Lin Feng patted the small sun's head, telling him not to be afraid. Lil Sun nodded heavily. Lin Feng and the other two continued to fly deeper into the desert. They saw the woman from afar, who was still crying. However, soon, Lin Feng discovered that no matter how they flew, they couldn't reach the woman's location. "Is it a mirage?" Lin Feng couldn't help but be puzzled. Mirages often appeared in the desert. The scene they saw was a shadow that radiated from another space-time. Therefore, no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't reach the place they saw. In fact, there were also mirages on the sea. Moreover, there were even more mirages on the sea than in the desert. Mirages were originally a term that spread from the sea. "It really does look like it," the cursed doll said. "Can Fata Morgana transmit sound as well?" Lin Feng raised his doubts. He had seen Fata Morgana more than once. He had seen Fata Morgana in the desert and in the sea. However, he had never seen a mirage that could transmit sound. The cursed doll said, "In this world, everything is possible." The explanation of the cursed doll made sense, but Lin Feng didn't know why, but he had the feeling that something was wrong. Chapter 5184. Lin Feng had always trusted his intuition. Therefore, he decided to continue chasing. He wanted to see if he could catch up to that woman. Although Lin Feng did not have much hope. Many cultivators were still chasing after the female cultivator. However, no matter how hard they chased after the female cultivator, they still could not catch up to her. They were left far behind by the female cultivator. Everyone seemed to be getting further and further away from the female cultivator. "We can't catch up at all. It must be a mirage. Since it's a mirage, why are we still chasing after it? Let's go back and drink. I've seen many mirages, but this is the first time I've seen a mirage that can transmit sound. The world is big, and there are all kinds of strange things. Today, I've truly broadened my horizons." Many cultivators started to discuss. No one had any hope of catching up to that woman. Moreover, the situation in front of them was indeed very similar to a mirage, so many cultivators stopped chasing after that woman. They all flew in the direction of the immortal Moon Island. However, there were still some cultivators who vaguely felt that something was amiss. They did not give up and continued to chase after that woman. However, after chasing for a long time, they still could not catch up to that woman. Thus, the other cultivators also gave up one after another. "We can't catch up at all. I think we should leave," the cursed doll said. Lin Feng nodded. If this continued, there would still be nothing to gain. Therefore, continuing to chase after her would be a waste of time. Lin Feng also wanted to give up. At this moment, Lil Sun said, "Don't go, don't go." "What?" Lin Feng and the cursed doll looked at Lil Sun. "What's wrong with this little guy? Could it be that he was possessed?" Lil Sun said, "It's what that big sister is saying in her heart. She's saying don't go, don't go." "What? There's such a thing?" Lin Feng and the cursed doll could not help but be shocked. They looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Was what Lil Sun said true? If it was true, in other words, everything in front of them was indeed not a mirage. "You can hear what she's saying in her heart?" The cursed doll looked at Lil Sun and asked. Lil Sun nodded. Lin Feng asked, "What else did she say?" Little Sun replied, "Just keep saying don't leave, don't leave." The cursed doll said, "Looks like there's a reason for that woman's appearance. Let's continue chasing after her, and see if anything else will happen." Lin Feng nodded. Next, Lin Feng, cursed doll, and Little Sun continued chasing after the woman. At this moment, there were very few cultivators chasing after the woman in front. However, The dragon tribe cultivator, the winged cultivator, and the voluptuous female cultivator were also chasing after the woman in front of them. Of course, it was also possible that they weren't chasing after the woman. Their goal was actually the little son. Chasing after the woman in front of them was just a way to conceal their true goal. Lin Feng had been paying attention to the three people. Those three people were very powerful, so he still needed to be on guard against them. F***ck, I can't catch up. I'm exhausted. Give up. 5 days later, a cultivator cried out in frustration. Then, a cultivator left. There were still more than 10 cultivators who hadn't given up. The rest of the cultivators had already left. The cursed doll looked at Lil Sun and asked, "Is her heart still talking?" Lil Sun shook his head. Lin Feng and the cursed doll couldn't help but frown. Why did the woman's heart say something before, but now there was no sound? Since he couldn't figure it out, Lin Feng didn't continue thinking about it. They didn't give up and continued chasing after the woman. Another 3 days passed. Apart from Lin Feng, the cursed doll, Lil Sun, the dragon tribe cultivator, the winged middle-aged cultivator, and the voluptuous female cultivator, everyone else had left. As for the three people, they quickly flew towards Lin Feng and the others. "These people are about to make a move," the cursed doll reminded them. Lin Feng nodded and sneered. "They really don't give up. They're all bad guys," Lil Sun said with an angry expression. Lil Sun would never forget the experience of being surrounded by 5 powerhouses. At the time, he was afraid. As for how he escaped, Lil Sun couldn't remember clearly. When he faced these people again, Lil Sun was still a little afraid of them, but when he thought about Lin Feng and the cursed doll by his side, he calmed down a lot. Not long after, the 3 people flew over and spread out, surrounding Lin Feng and the others. The voluptuous female cultivator looked at Lin Feng and smiled. "Young master, you don't look familiar. You're not a cultivator from the West Sea, right?" Lin Feng said. "I'm not a cultivator from the West Sea, but why are the 3 of you surrounding us? Are you trying to provoke us?" The voluptuous female cultivator said. "Young master, please don't misunderstand. We have no intention of provoking you. We just happened to fly over from 3 different directions." What a lame excuse. It was a lie to a 3-year-old child. No one would believe it. Lin Feng didn't expose her. Instead, he asked, "Then why are the 3 of you here?" The female cultivator smiled and said, "It's like this. That little boy is somewhat related to us, so we want to take him away. Of course, young master, don't worry. As long as you hand him over to us, we'll give you 100 million immortal stones as compensation." "Hee, you're really generous," Lin Feng said mockingly. The female cultivator said, "Young master, you might have misunderstood. When I said 100 million immortal stones, I didn't mean 100 million low-grade immortal stones. I meant 100 million high-grade immortal stones. Young master, you should know how precious high-grade immortal stones are and how hard it is to find them. 100 million high-grade immortal stones is definitely a very sincere offer," Lin Feng said indifferently. "I can give each of you 100 million high-grade immortal stones right now, but you have to immediately scram as far as you can. Can you do that?" When they heard Lin Feng's words, the corners of their mouths twitched. Next, the faces of the 3 turned ugly. Chapter 5185. The winged cultivator was quite powerful, but it was impossible for Lin Feng to be afraid of him. Lin Feng was really not afraid of him. There were not many people who could make Lin Feng afraid, at least not in the Undying Realm. Although this person was strong, he was probably only at the peak of the Tao Immortal Realm, or at the Quasi-Golden Immortal Realm. In any case, he had not broken through to the Golden Immortal Realm. Although such a cultivator was strong, he was not strong enough to make Lin Feng afraid. Lin Feng sneered and said, "How interesting. I'm afraid you don't know your identity. You actually dare to talk nonsense in front of this young master. If you scram now, I can still spare you. Otherwise, I will make you regret being born in this world. Brat, you're too arrogant." The winged cultivator's eyes darkened. Lin Feng's contempt and disdain for him deeply angered the winged cultivator. He was quite angry now. Although he felt that Lin Feng was a very troublesome person, the winged cultivator was also incomparably confident in himself. Moreover, they had 3 experts on their side. Naturally, they were not afraid of Lin Feng, the cursed doll, and the little son. "Come together, because your little grandpa is very busy," Lin Feng said indifferently. Although the winged cultivator was quite angry, he did not lose his mind. The easiest way to deal with Lin Feng and the others was naturally to attack together. This method was also the safest method. He did not want to deal with Lin Feng alone, because although he knew the other 2, they were not allies. They were only cooperating temporarily, and there was no trust between them at all. If he attacked Lin Feng, wouldn't he be letting the other 2 take advantage of him? The cultivator with the wings on his back was very thorough in his considerations. He said, "Let's deal with them together." The dragon race cultivator and the sexy female cultivator nodded. Then, the 3 of them began to prepare a powerful attack. The winged cultivator flapped his wings, and hundreds of millions of cold lights instantly condensed. Those densely packed cold glints. All of them charged towards Lin Feng and the others. The Dragon Clan cultivator used the 9 dragons playing with beads magic ability. This was a top-notch magic ability passed down by the Dragon Clan. Its power was extremely terrifying. 9 water dragons condensed in the void. The 9 water dragons quickly rushed towards Lin Feng and the others. As for the sexy female cultivator, she used a magic ability called the Sea of Hatred to deal with Lin Feng and the others. A strange power appeared in the void. That kind of strange power condensed together like a large thundercloud, shrouding Lin Feng and the others. Then, it blasted towards Lin Feng and the others. This kind of power was really terrifying. The cultivation of these 3 people should be at the peak of the Dao Immortal Realm, or the Quasi-Golden Immortal Realm. The 3 of them were indeed very powerful. Facing their attacks, Lin Feng didn't dare to be careless. Lin Feng released a defensive barrier that protected him, the cursed doll, and the small son. Bang! 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 Along with the violent collision sounds, the attacks of the 3 experts fiercely bombarded the energy barrier that Lin Feng condensed. The energy barrier's defensive power was very strong. This was because it was formed by the power of the Black Tortoise, the defensive power, and the power of Buddhism. Therefore, the attacks of the 3 experts didn't break Lin Feng's energy barrier. The 3 experts' faces couldn't help but sink, but then they sneered. The winged cultivator sneered. "Do you think that a tortoise shell can withstand the attacks of the 3 of us? It won't be long before we can completely destroy this tortoise shell. When that time comes, I really want to see what you look like. Will you still be as arrogant as before?" After saying that, the winged cultivator continued to attack Lin Feng and the others. The dragon cultivator and the sexy female cultivator didn't stop either. All kinds of powerful attacks were condensed, and all of them were aimed at Lin Feng's group. The energy barrier that Lin Feng condensed had an amazing defensive power. For the time being, it didn't show any signs of being broken by the 3 of them. At this time, Lin Feng and the cursed doll were chanting incantations. The 2 of them were using curse arts. The cursed doll's curse arts were very terrifying, and the success rate was very high. After Lin Feng obtained the clay figurine and stone statue, the success rate of Lin Feng's curse arts had greatly increased. Therefore, curse arts could be used as a normal attack method. Pft! Pft! The sound of 2 bodies being pierced rang out. A bloody hole appeared in the chest of the winged cultivator and the dragon cultivator. The 2 of them couldn't help but fly backward. The 2 of them were very strong, so this kind of injury wasn't enough to take their lives. Damn it! The 2 of them had extremely ugly expressions, and they couldn't help but curse in a low voice. Their tyrannical cultivation had actually been injured. For them, it was a great humiliation. The 2 of them were mad with hatred. The sexy female cultivator also saw the situation over here. Her expression changed slightly. The female cultivator hurriedly retreated, putting enough distance between them for fear of being attacked. "It seems that you're too weak," Leave your lives here, Lin Feng said indifferently. Just as he was about to join forces with the cursed doll to kill the three of them turned around and ran. The abilities displayed by Lin Feng and the cursed doll were too terrifying, so now, no matter how angry they were and how much they wanted to kill Lin Feng and the others, they were a little powerless. If they didn't leave quickly, they might even die in this place. The three of them naturally knew this very well, not to mention that the dragon cultivator and the winged cultivator had suffered extremely serious injuries. Therefore, their combat strength dropped very quickly, so they didn't dare to stay any longer. Seeing the three of them escape, Lin Feng and the others didn't chase after them. Because catching up to the female cultivator in the distance was obviously more important. They quickly chased after the female cultivator in the distance. Now, only Lin Feng, the cursed doll, and little Sun were still chasing the female cultivator. However, the female cultivator didn't have any intention of stopping. Just like that, Lin Feng and the other two chased for another 3 days. The female cultivator's speed finally slowed down somewhat. Chapter 5186. The female cultivator had to slow down in order to catch up to the female cultivator. Previously, she had been unable to catch up to the female cultivator, but now, she saw hope of catching up to the female cultivator. The female cultivator finally stopped on a nameless island. Her back was facing Lin Feng and the other two. Lin Feng and the others also stopped. Lin Feng and the cursed doll looked at each other. The female cultivator was very strange. They could not detect whether she was a human or a ghost because there was an invisible force that blocked the detection of cultivator's spiritual will. As a result, even Lin Feng and the cursed doll did not know what kind of existence the female cultivator was. Lin Feng thought of the sea lady that the cursed doll had mentioned. Was this female cultivator really a sea lady? Or was it related to the sea lady? Fairy! Are you the legendary sea lady? Lin Feng asked. He had never liked to beat around the bush. If there was anything he wanted to say, he would say it directly. If there was anything he wanted to ask, he would ask directly. However, the woman did not answer Lin Feng. Do you want us to do something? Lin Feng continued to ask when he saw that the woman did not answer him. The woman remained silent. Lin Feng could not help but mutter in his heart. Why aren't you speaking? If you don't speak, who knows what you want to do? If you don't speak, we'll leave, Lin Feng said. However, the woman still did not speak. At this moment, Lil Sun said, Brother, this big sister is not silent. She is speaking in her heart. Speaking in her heart? Lin Feng was a little surprised. Could it be that this woman could not speak? Was she a mute? So she could only speak in her heart? How did Lil Sun hear this woman's thoughts? Could it be a very special ability? The cursed doll asked curiously. What is she saying in her heart? Under the cherry blossom tree, Lil Sun said. Under the cherry blossom tree? Lin Feng could not help but frown slightly. What did this mean? What was she trying to say? It was difficult to understand what the woman was trying to say from these 4 words. Anything else? Lin Feng asked. Little Sun said. Homeland, parents. At this point, Lil Sun did not continue. The woman's body trembled slightly as if she was crying. Fairy, don't cry. Do you want me to give you a warm hug? Lin Feng said. Bastard, you're really shameless. You're taking advantage of him, the cursed doll said. Lin Feng replied. I'm just showing concern for my fellow women. Shameless, Little Sun said. Little Sun then said with a bitter expression. Big brother, it's not that I'm saying that you're shameless, but it's that big sister's voice. Lin Feng said. I'm such a caring person, yet I've been misunderstood. Those who hear this are sad and those who hear it cry. Shameless! Little Sun continued. Then, Lil Sun continued to look bitterly at Lin Feng and said, It was this big sister who said so. All right then. Lin Feng decided to speak less. This was because he realized that his image in the female cultivator's heart seemed to be unchangeable. Under the cherry blossom tree, homeland, parents, Lin Feng muttered the words in the female cultivator's heart. She mentioned the cherry blossom tree, homeland, and parents. What was she trying to express? Could it be that something was buried under the cherry blossom tree? Where was her homeland? How were her parents? Was she the legendary sea lady? These were all questions that troubled Lin Feng. Can you give me a more complete explanation? Lin Feng asked. Look for me in the Devil Ravine. Little Sun continued. Then, the female cultivator disappeared into thin air. It's not a real person or a ghost. It seems to be an illusion, the cursed doll said. Lin Feng nodded. Indeed, Lin Feng said. Is she asking us to go to the Devil Ravine? Is she the sea lady? The cursed doll said. I don't know if she's the sea lady or not. It's very possible that she is, but there's no way to prove it. However, the sea lady was buried in the Devil Stream, and that place is too dangerous. I think we should just forget about it and not get involved. We shouldn't interfere in this matter, Lin Feng said. Since she's already made a request to us, I think it's better to help her. Why? This is a very dangerous matter, the cursed doll said. Because I think she's very beautiful. Is that reason enough? Lin Feng said. The cursed doll said speechlessly. You haven't even seen her face, yet you're saying she's beautiful? Lin Feng said. Her figure is very good. With such a figure, her face can't be too bad. The cursed doll rolled its eyes and said, Is that a reason? Lin Feng said. All right, let's change the reason. After a pause, Lin Feng said, Actually, I think that woman might really be the sea lady. If we bring the sea lady's corpse out, I wonder if we can find the ruins of the Poseidon Temple? If we can find it, won't there be many fortuitous encounters waiting for us inside? The cursed doll's expression couldn't help but become uncertain. In fact, Lin Feng knew something. The cursed doll had been looking for greater fortuitous encounters all this time. It wanted to quickly increase its cultivation. He seemed to be preparing for something all the time. This included increasing its cultivation. It was also a preparation for some things. Therefore, Lin Feng felt that the cursed doll would agree to it. The cursed doll said, All right, let's go then. With our methods, do we have to be afraid of the Devil Ravine? Lin Feng asked. Do you know where the Devil Ravine is exactly? Of course I do, the cursed doll said. Lin Feng's group of 3 set off. In truth, the Devil Ravine was in the West Sea realm, but not many people knew how to get there. However, the cursed doll knew. They flew for 10 days, and then the cursed doll brought Lin Feng and the little sun to a place with a deep blue sea. Could it be below this region? Lin Feng asked curiously. Yes. The cursed doll nodded and said, This place looks very peaceful, but it is filled with endless killing intent. It is still fine during the day, but it becomes extremely terrifying at night. Dark energy fills the world and devours all life. I was wondering why I didn't see any living creatures here. Lin Feng couldn't help but say. The 3 of them quickly dived to the bottom of the sea. The sea here was very deep. It was more than 100,000 meters deep. When they reached a depth of about 150,000 meters, Lin Feng saw that a huge whirlpool had appeared below them. Chapter 5187. We'll reach our destination after passing through that whirlpool, the cursed doll said. Lin Feng said, That whirlpool contains an extremely terrifying space-time energy, so we can't underestimate its power. Be careful later. The cursed doll and little sun couldn't help but nod. They had indeed felt the terror of that whirlpool. Lin Feng released a magical energy shield to cover the 3 of them, and then he quickly rushed towards the whirlpool. Soon, Lin Feng and the other 2 entered the whirlpool. Inside the whirlpool, it was pitch black, and nothing could be seen. Lin Feng's magical energy shield was very strong, and it wasn't destroyed by the terrifying power surging in the whirlpool. However, as Lin Feng went deeper into the whirlpool, suddenly, an invisible and intangible strength began to collide with Lin Feng's condensed magic power shield. Clang! 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 That invisible and intangible strength kept colliding with Lin Feng's defensive barrier again and again. Therefore, Lin Feng's magical energy shield kept shaking, as if it was going to be destroyed at any time. The situation didn't look good. Lin Feng said in a deep voice. It seems that some unknown creature has launched an attack. Curse doll, use your curse power to attack that guy. F***ck, it even dares to cause trouble for us. It really doesn't want to live anymore. Watch how I kill that guy later. The curse doll suddenly shouted. Lin Feng continued to increase the power of the magical energy shield, and the curse doll began to condense a curse to deal with the existence in the darkness. Lin Feng didn't know what was attacking Lin Feng and the others in the darkness, but Lin Feng vaguely felt a special aura. That aura made Lin Feng feel extremely oppressed. If it wasn't for his bloodline being strong enough and his sudden inspiration ability not being comparable to ordinary people, perhaps Lin Feng wouldn't have been able to sense that terrifying existence. Actually, the cursed doll had not sensed the presence of that being. At first, it thought that the invisible force that attacked them was released by the whirlpool. Actually, it was not released by the whirlpool. It should have been released by an unknown being. This place was truly terrifying. The whirlpool itself was already incomparably terrifying, not to mention the unknown and terrifying creatures hidden in the whirlpool. If he were to be attacked by that creature in the whirlpool, it would be a disaster. The cursed doll was powerful, and its art of curses was unparalleled. His curse had harmed the terrifying existence in the darkness. This was easy to determine because Lin Feng, the cursed doll, and little son heard the screams. Although the voice was suppressed very low, it still couldn't escape their ears. After the unknown existence was injured, it did not continue to attack Lin Feng's defensive light barrier. Lin Feng increased his speed. In the end, he successfully passed through the twisting whirlpool with the cursed doll and little Sunday. They rushed out of the twisting whirlpool. Then, Lin Feng saw the continuous rise and fall of the pitch-black mountain range in the distance. There were many mountains in the mountain range, and each mountain peak was carved into the shape of a devil. The mountains were thousands of meters tall, and they looked like huge devils. Ferocious, terrifying, and soul-stirring. Is this the Devil Valley? Lin Feng couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. How did so many devil-like mountains appear? It was really like the work of the gods. The Devil Valley is also known as the Devil Mountain Range. This place has an unknown and terrifying power. I've even heard of it. The Devil Valley is even more terrifying than a death zone, or even some life-forbidden zones, the cursed doll said. Lin Feng nodded. He could feel the terror of the Devil Valley. They hadn't even entered the Devil Valley yet. Just looking at the mountains that were thousands of meters tall and looked like giant devils, it already gave rise to a feeling of fear. How did a place like the Devil Valley form? Lin Feng couldn't help but smile bitterly. Lin Feng found it hard to believe that such a terrifying place was naturally formed. For example, how could the mountains that had turned into devils be naturally formed? It was too lifelike. However, it didn't seem right to say that it was man-made. Could someone create such a terrifying place like the Devil Valley? How strong would one have to be to create a Devil Valley? The cursed doll said. Who knows how this damn place was formed? In any case, it's very mysterious and terrifying. Not many people dare to come here. It was indeed as the cursed doll had said. This place was indeed terrifying. Lin Feng already had the thought of turning around and leaving, but after thinking about it, he decided against it. He was already here. He couldn't leave just like that. You guys wait for me here, I'll go in myself, Lin Feng said. I want to go in with Big Brother. Little Son grabbed Lin Feng's clothes and said, Yeah, let's go in together, the cursed doll said with a smile. Lin Feng looked at the cursed doll's expression and knew that the cursed doll didn't really want to go in with him. It was just being polite. After all, the Devil Valley was really terrifying. It was normal for the cursed doll to give up. Lin Feng said, I have a stone armor here. If you wear it, you can avoid many dangers. However, there is only one stone armor, so I can't help you. That's why you can't go in with me. In that case, we'll wait outside for your triumphant return. Don't worry, I'll take good care of little Sunday, the cursed doll hurriedly said. Big brother, be careful. Little Sun reminded him. Yes, I will. Lin Feng rubbed Little Sun's head. Then, Lin Feng took out the stone armor and put it on. Then, Lin Feng flew towards the Devil Valley. He landed in the outer area of the Devil Valley. The pitch-black Devil Valley exuded a cold aura, but the cold aura was blocked outside by the stone armor. Sure, this supreme treasure was truly extraordinary. Lin Feng walked inside. As he went deeper into the Devil Valley, Lin Feng discovered that there were many broken stone statues in the Devil Valley. Those stone statues were also devil stone statues. Why are there so many stone statues? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. The interior of the Devil Valley was really strange. What was going on with those scattered devil stone statues? Lin Feng even discovered that although some of the devil stone statues were damaged, they were still surrounded by demonic power. Those devil stone statues were very special. They weren't just ordinary stone statues. Chapter 5188. Something had appeared. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. That chilling aura was emitted from the body of that unknown existence. Lin Feng had no idea what that unknown existence was, but that existence was definitely extremely terrifying. Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. He had a bone-chilling feeling, so he didn't dare to move recklessly, afraid that the unknown existence would see him. Actually, the stone armor could hide from the detection of some creatures in the forbidden area, and the Devil's Stream was also equivalent to a forbidden area. Therefore, it was reasonable to say that the stone armor could hide from the detection of some creatures in the Devil's Stream. That chilling aura was getting stronger and stronger, and Lin Feng knew that it was because that unknown and terrifying creature was quickly approaching him. Lin Feng didn't dare to release his divine sense. Because that existence's perception was definitely incomparably strong, if he released his divine sense, it would definitely be sensed by the other party. Once it was sensed by the other party, it would be a tragedy. Lin Feng smelled a stench. It was extremely choking. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter in his heart. That stench, was it emitted by that unknown creature? Can't you be a little more hygienic? Even at this time, Lin Feng still had the mood to talk about that unknown and terrifying creature. His heart was really big. Lin Feng knew that the existence must be by his side. However, the stone armor could block the detection of some creatures in the forbidden area. It could even affect the vision of the creatures in the forbidden area. Therefore, that was why this unknown and terrifying creature didn't notice Lin Feng. In the end, this unknown and terrifying creature chose to leave. Lin Feng's face revealed an expression of relief. That was really close. He had just entered the Devil's Stream, and he had already encountered such danger. This place was like a bottomless abyss. One wrong step and he would fall into the abyss, consigned to eternal damnation. This also reminded Lin Feng. Later, he had to be more careful. Lin Feng continued to walk in. He realized that the deeper he went, the more extraordinary the devil stone statues on the ground were. The extraordinary part was reflected in the materials. There were also runes. Although the devil gargoyles outside and the devil gargoyles in the depths were both made of stone, the materials used were completely different. Different materials would lead to different grades and levels of devilish gargoyles. Apart from the materials used, another factor that affected the quality of the devilish gargoyle was the runes on its surface. There were many runes on the devil stone statue. Some of the runes were strong, while some were weak. Powerful runes could increase the grade and level of the devil stone statue, as well as bestow even greater power to it. Lin Feng was unable to determine whether the runes on the devil statue were natural or man-made. He didn't care about that. Similarly, he didn't care why there were so many damaged devil statues here. The only thing Lin Feng cared about was where the woman's bones were. Once he found that woman's skeleton, Lin Feng would quickly leave this terrible place. Lin Feng went deeper in. There were some terrifying creatures active in the Devil's Stream. Those creatures were hidden in the darkness, and their movements were silent. If one didn't carefully search for them, it would be impossible to find them. Fortunately, Lin Feng's sudden inspiration ability was powerful enough. Relying on this ability, he could sense the arrival of danger in advance. So whenever he sensed danger approaching, Lin Feng would quickly find a place to stand still. Just like that, he dodged one terrifying being after another. Of course, it wasn't like he didn't encounter any danger. Once, after Lin Feng sensed danger, he leaned against a rock wall and waited for that terrifying existence to leave. But that terrifying existence's perception was extremely strong, and it didn't leave immediately. That existence used its nose to smell Lin Feng's scent. Its nose was very sensitive. Then, that existence approached Lin Feng step by step, until it was 1 meter away from Lin Feng. At that time, Lin Feng's mood was incomparably nervous. Lin Feng once thought that he would definitely not be able to avoid that terrifying existence's detection. Lin Feng was about to make a move to fight that terrifying existence. This was the worst result. Because once the battle started, other creatures might also be attracted. At that time, if he was besieged, it would be extremely dangerous. But what surprised Lin Feng was that when he was about to make a move to deal with that unknown creature actually quickly left. Lin Feng noticed that the unknown creature was rushing towards the depths. As for why it rushed towards the depths, Lin Feng didn't know. Could it be that the unknown creature discovered something? Or perhaps something happened that he didn't know about. So, that's why it couldn't wait to leave. Lin Feng found that his body was drenched in cold sweat. It was really dangerous just now. Fortunately, the result was not bad. But this kind of danger might appear again soon, so Lin Feng didn't dare to truly relax. He still had a cautious look on his face. Lin Feng continued to walk inside. The mountains were continuous. The huge mountain peaks that looked like demonic stone statues gave people a heavy and oppressive feeling. Lin Feng had a strange feeling. He felt that those huge demonic mountain peaks didn't seem to be as simple as mountains. They seemed to have their own lives. Lin Feng was surprised when he thought of that. But this thought was quickly dismissed by Lin Feng. It was just a group of mountains. How could they have their own lives? If there was life, he should have sensed it long ago. But now he didn't sense any life aura from those mountains. Lin Feng walked inside step by step. He climbed over one mountain after another. But on the 9th mountain, Lin Feng encountered trouble. He found that he was trapped. He kept walking back and forth in a forest, as if he had fallen into a dead end. This made Lin Feng's face become extremely ugly. It was very similar to an illusion, but it was many times more advanced than an illusion. What made Lin Feng feel the most solemn was when Lin Feng used his eye of origin to look around, trying to find a way out. However, Lin Feng's eye of origin only saw rolling black fog. In all directions. There was no way out. Damn it! Lin Feng couldn't help but curse in a low voice. He continued to walk forward, but Lin Feng felt that his footsteps were getting heavier and heavier. Chapter 5189. I knew nothing good would come out of every 9. Looks like I was right. Lin Feng couldn't help but feel annoyed. 9 was the ultimate number. It represented danger, the unknown, terror, and death. Lin Feng was currently on the 9th mountain. In truth, as soon as Lin Feng entered the 9th mountain, he had a very bad feeling. Now, it seemed that the feeling was not without reason. He had really encountered danger on the 9th mountain. Now that he was trapped here, it was very troublesome. Lin Feng transmitted his voice to the Demon Lord. Demon Lord, how do you think I can get out of here? However, the Demon Lord did not reply to Lin Feng. The transmission through divine sense has been cut off? Lin Feng frowned. He tried to communicate with Great Immortal Sound Martin, but he failed. Lin Feng was now certain that the transmission through divine sense had been cut off. This was going to be very troublesome. Soon, Lin Feng discovered something even worse. He discovered that he could not even communicate with the space-time continuum. This was a very bad thing. If he could communicate with the space-time continuum, he would be able to summon all sorts of powerful treasures from the space-time continuum to protect himself. He could also communicate with BB and the others. If he encountered danger, he could ask BB and the others to come and help him. However, since he could not communicate with the space-time continuum, he naturally could not communicate with BB and the others. I don't believe I can't get out of here. Lin Feng took a deep breath. He had always been an unyielding person. Although the current situation was not good for Lin Feng, so what? Lin Feng was confident that he could find a way to get out of here. Lin Feng continued forward. He was still walking in circles. Now, Lin Feng was stuck in an endless loop. No matter how many times he walked, he could not get out of it. Maybe I can try walking in the opposite direction. Lin Feng could not help but mutter to himself. He tried walking in the opposite direction, but Lin Feng discovered that even though he was walking in the opposite direction, he was still walking in circles. Are there really no clues to be found? Lin Feng could not help but frown. So far, he had indeed not found any clues. This was what worried Lin Feng the most. Why was there no clue at all? Logically speaking, no matter how brilliant a restriction was or how powerful a natural formation was, there should be flaws in some places. However, there were no flaws in the place in front of him. Anyone who was trapped in this place would probably go crazy. Lin Feng felt like he was going crazy. He was very excited. He kept looking for a way out, but he could not find it. Lin Feng felt that he needed to calm down. Now that he was stimulated, his mind was very excited. In a dangerous place, it was very bad for the mind to be in an excited state. Lin Feng was very clear about this. The more dangerous it was, the calmer his mind was. Only by calming down would he be able to better analyze the danger in front of him. Lin Feng firmly believed that he would be able to find a way out. Lin Feng leaned on a big rock to rest. After some time, Lin Feng opened his eyes. That is... Lin Feng was surprised when he saw a ball of light. That ball of light wasn't far from him. It was floating in the air and emitting a dense light. Lin Feng didn't know where that ball of light had come from or when it had appeared. When Lin Feng was resting, that ball of light hadn't appeared. Could it be? Lin Feng immediately sat up from the ground. He felt that the ball of light might be able to bring him out. Lin Feng quickly rushed towards the ball of light. The ball of light seemed very close, but in fact, it was quite far from Lin Feng. There was still some distance between them. The ball of light also moved, moving into the distance. Lin Feng's eyes were no longer focused on anything else. There was only the ball of light left. He followed the ball of light all the way, hoping to catch up with it quickly. However, no matter how hard Lin Feng chased, he could not catch up with the ball of light. About 2 hours passed. Lin Feng found that the environment around him had changed. It seemed that this was no longer the same area as before. Lin Feng looked behind him and found that there were 9 mountains behind him. He had already arrived at the 10th mountain. Seeing this, Lin Feng immediately became very happy. He had arrived at the 10th mountain. This meant that he had really walked out of the 9th mountain. Lin Feng thought of the ball of light. It was the ball of light that had brought him out. Lin Feng looked around, wanting to see where the ball of light was now. He found that the ball of light had disappeared without a trace. What was that ball of light? Lin Feng could not help but mutter. Previously, he had tried to find out what was inside the ball of light. However, Lin Feng was unable to find out the secret of the ball of light. Everything was very mysterious. Now, the ball of light had become an unsolved mystery. Since the ball of light had disappeared, Lin Feng did not continue to think about it. He began to search for the whereabouts of the woman's skeleton in the 10th mountain. Lin Feng felt that since the woman had brought them here, she would definitely give them some clues. If she did not give them any clues, it would be too difficult to find her skeleton in such a huge devil stream. Lin Feng didn't find anything on the 10th mountain, so he continued walking towards the depths of the mountain. Lin Feng was in danger on the 12th mountain. He was attacked by a powerful vicious beast and was almost killed by it. Fortunately, Lin Feng found an opportunity and killed the vicious beast. The vicious beast was completely black. It looked like a leopard, but it had scales, 2 horns, and a tail like a dragon's tail. It looked very strange. Lin Feng had never encountered such a creature. Chapter 5190. As soon as Lin Feng arrived at the 13th mountain, he heard some roaring sounds coming from the 10th mountain. It seemed like some creatures had been attracted by the battle and were fighting over the corpse of the dead cultivator. That corpse was a great supplement for those creatures, so fighting over it was normal. Lin Feng took a deep breath. Luckily, he had left that place quickly, otherwise those ferocious beasts would have surrounded him, and he would have been in big trouble. Lin Feng took a deep breath. Luckily, he had left that place quickly, otherwise those ferocious beasts would have surrounded him. Shit, my stone armor is broken! Lin Feng couldn't help but shout. He hadn't noticed it during the battle, but now that the battle was over, Lin Feng noticed the stone armor on his body. Lin Feng's stone armor was damaged. There was a crack of about 20 centimeters. It should have been damaged by the fierce beast during the battle. Lin Feng was very distressed. Stone armor was precious and extremely rare. Now that it was damaged, he didn't know if it could be repaired. The key was that he needed the stone armor to hide from the fierce beasts. Now that the stone armor was damaged, if a powerful fierce beast appeared next to him, the possibility of being discovered would be greatly increased. After all, after the stone armor was damaged, Lin Feng's chi would leak out from the crack. Even if it wasn't much, the creatures in the Devil Valley were too powerful. Even if only a little bit of chi leaked out, it could be discovered by those terrifying creatures. The current situation was not good news for those who had found a way to deal with it. Lin Feng was very helpless. He could only hope that he could find some clues quickly. Otherwise, he would have to leave. The Devil Valley was really terrifying. Lin Feng felt that the death impasse couldn't be compared to the Devil Valley. If he continued to stay in such a place, he would really be doomed. Lin Feng continued to walk inside. Suddenly, Lin Feng looked to the left. There, he saw a woman. When he saw that woman, Lin Feng's face lit up with joy. That woman was none other than the woman Lin Feng had seen in the sea. She really appeared. Moreover, his appearance was very timely. Because of the damage to the stone armor, Lin Feng couldn't stay here for too long. Lin Feng was even considering leaving. Lin Feng quickly rushed towards the woman. The woman led the way. Fairy, how should I address you? Are you the legendary sea maiden? Lin Feng asked. The woman did not answer Lin Feng. In fact, Lin Feng felt that there was an 80% chance that this woman was the sea lady. The remaining 20% were not sea girls. In Lin Feng's heart, he was certain that this woman was the sea lady. However, he would find out later whether she was the sea lady or not. The woman ignored Lin Feng. Lin Feng discovered that her state was rather strange. She wasn't a body of flesh and blood, nor was she a soul. She wasn't condensed from spiritual energy. Instead, she seemed to be condensed from a breath or a strand of origin energy. She brought Lin Feng to a valley halfway up the 13th mountain. The valley was very deep. When they arrived at the valley, the woman took the initiative to dissipate. She really condensed in one breath. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter. Then, he walked into the valley. Crack! Crack! As he walked in the valley, the sound of bones cracking could be heard under his feet. When he heard the sound of bones cracking, Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. There was a thick pile of leaves here. Lin Feng pushed aside the leaves and found a skeleton underneath. Lin Feng waved his hand. A gust of wind swept over and swept away all the leaves. Then, Lin Feng saw that the entire valley was filled with skeletons and skeletons. Lin Feng's heart couldn't help but tremble slightly. He suddenly thought of the story that the cursed doll had told him. At that time, the cursed doll had told Lin Feng. The sea maiden had brought those greedy cultivators to Devil Ravine. Those greedy cultivators had all died in Devil Ravine. If that was the case, were these skeletons the cultivators who persecuted the sea maiden back then? There was really such a possibility. Greed would make people lose their nature. That was why these people died here. I wonder if the young master who was saved by the Snow Maiden is also here? Lin Feng walked inside. He felt that the Snow Maiden's skeleton was very likely here. After a short time, Lin Feng arrived in the depths of the forest. Lin Feng discovered that there was a rusty war spear on the rock wall deep inside. The rusty war spear had pierced through the chest of a female cultivator and nailed her to the rock wall. Lin Feng quickly walked over and arrived beside the corpse. Lin Feng saw a beautiful face that could be broken by the wind. Is she the Sea Maiden? It's said that the Sea Maiden is a mermaid. She is indeed beautiful. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. Then, he couldn't help but curse in his heart. Which bastard nailed the Snow Maiden here back then? Wasn't that a little too cruel? How could they treat such a beautiful woman? How could they be so cruel and merciless? As a man who had tender feelings for the fairer sex, Lin Feng hated this kind of behavior the most. Lin Feng muttered to himself. The Sea Maiden's corpse didn't rot and was preserved so well. Is it because of her powerful cultivation or her physique? Lin Feng thought about it, and felt that it might be because of her physique. After all, cultivators who were far more powerful than the Sea Maiden would have turned into skeletons after death. Weaker Sea Maidens should have turned into skeletons as well, but the Sea Maiden's corpse was perfectly intact. If the Sea Maiden had a special physique, it might be possible for her body to remain intact. I'll take your corpse and bring you back to your homeland. I'll bury you under a cherry blossom tree, Lin Feng said. He grabbed the war spear and tried to pull it out. The war spear seemed to have fused with the rock wall. Lin Feng tried 7 times. Only then did he successfully pull the war spear out. The Sea Maiden's corpse fell into Lin Feng's arms. At the same time, chilling winds howled in the valley. Next, the skeletons on the ground started to move. The skeletons all stood up from the ground. Damn! Skeletal evil spirits! Lin Feng couldn't help but shout when he saw the countless skeletons. The skeletons had all come back to life. He soared into the sky, wanting to leave as soon as possible. However, an extremely powerful restriction swept over Lin Feng's body at the top of the mountain, causing him to fall back down. Lin Feng fell into the valley once more. Meanwhile, the army of skeletons was slowly approaching Lin Feng. Chapter 5191. Lin Feng stored the corpse in his space-time pocket. Then, he looked at the approaching army of skeletons. He smiled awkwardly and said, Everyone, don't be impulsive. Impulsiveness is the devil. Let's talk this out. Stop! At that moment, a voice came from behind the skeleton army, causing it to stop. A path was formed in the middle of the skeleton army. More than a dozen golden skeletons walked over. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat when he saw the golden skeletons. Were these golden skeletons cultivators from the same clan when they were still alive? There really was such a possibility. They should be the ones who had persecuted the Sea Maiden in the past, right? What a bunch of scumbags. Kid, you've got guts. You actually dared to barge into Devil Stream to save someone. The leader of the golden skeletons said. Lin Feng said, Is this Devil Stream? I was sucked in by the space-time reversal. As for what you mean by saving someone, I don't really understand. Earlier, I was moved by the beauty of that corpse, so I let her rest in peace. She's already dead, so there's no need to talk about saving someone, right? Another golden skeleton mocked. You were moved by the beauty of the corpse? Looks like you're quite an affectionate person. You must have harmed a lot of women outside, right? What are you talking about? That's called true love, but it's called harm to you. You really don't know how to talk. Lin Feng pursed his lips. The golden skeleton sneered. He scoffed at Lin Feng's words of true love. If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first. Please make way, Lin Feng said. Kid, you're about to die, and you still want to leave? Are you dreaming? The third golden skeleton sneered. Are you all planning to fight me to the death? If we're going to talk about it, I might not necessarily be afraid of you, Lin Feng said. Kid, you're quite good at bragging. Another golden skeleton mocked. These fellows were quite intelligent, said Lin Feng, smiling coldly. He didn't pay attention to that guy. The leading golden skeleton said, Kid, why don't we work together for a bit? Cooperate on what? Lin Feng asked indifferently. The fact that you can come here shows how strong you are. But no matter how strong you are, you won't be able to escape from the army of skeletons. I don't want to kill you, the leader of the golden skeletons said. What are the conditions? Lin Feng asked. The condition is simple. Sacrifice that woman's corpse and we'll let you go, the leader of the golden skeletons said. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows slightly. He felt that things were definitely not that simple. Lin Feng curiously asked, Why do you want to sacrifice her corpse? Because we hate her. If it weren't for her, we wouldn't have ended up like this. We'd rather be dead than alive right now, a golden skeleton said with a hoarse voice. His voice was filled with endless resentment and hatred. He hated sea women. Because of her, he had become a skeleton. He had to live forever. He had to suffer all kinds of torture. He couldn't reincarnate. It would be better to just die in such a life. At the very least, he wouldn't have to suffer anymore. Why didn't you do it before? Lin Feng asked. Due to some special reasons, we couldn't do it ourselves. We needed the help of others to deal with this corpse. Obviously, something unknown must have happened in the past for these skeletons to not be able to destroy the corpse. Lin Feng said, I'm guessing that you don't want to sacrifice this corpse for that reason, right? Of course. The leader of the golden skeletons was very calm, and his voice was very calm. Lin Feng said, I don't think so. Perhaps you can regain your freedom after sacrificing her corpse? Or perhaps you won't have to suffer anymore? Or perhaps there are other benefits. You're overthinking it, the leader of the golden skeletons said. Overthinking it? Lin Feng's lips curled into a mocking smile. When he said those words earlier, he had been observing these skeletons. The golden skeleton was calm and composed. It was obvious that this person had been an extraordinary person when he was alive. However, not all skeletal creatures had the same mental fortitude as him. The eyes of some of the skeletons twitched violently. This meant that he had guessed correctly. That was why their emotions had changed. The changes in their emotions could be seen from the will-o'-the-wisps in their eye sockets. As for why sacrificing the corpse was the key to regaining their freedom, Lin Feng didn't know. The leader of the golden skeletons said coldly, Brat! We'll give you a chance to live. If you don't cherish it, we don't mind taking it back. I'm willing to cooperate with you, Lin Feng said. A wise man submits to circumstances. The leader of the golden skeletons let out a burst of laughter. The other skeletons' emotions were fluctuating violently. This was because they felt that they were about to escape from their current predicament. They were about to regain their freedom. They had been looking forward to this day. They had been looking forward to it for a long time, said Lin Feng. Before sacrificing her, I have something I need to ask you, said Lin Feng. Speak, the leader of the golden skeletons said concisely. Will you really let me go? Why do I feel a little worried? Lin Feng asked. The leading golden skeleton said, Of course. I can swear to the heavens that if we don't let you go, we will die a horrible death. That's a heavy enough oath. I believe you. Lin Feng smiled. The leader of the golden skeletons despised Lin Feng in his heart. What an idiot. We're already dead. Now that we've sworn an oath that we'll die a horrible death, does this oath have any restrictions on us? Of course not. However, although the golden skeleton was cursing Lin Feng for being an idiot, it didn't express its thoughts. After all, Lin Feng was still useful to it. It wouldn't be too late to deal with Lin Feng after sacrificing the corpse. Can we sacrifice the corpse now? The golden skeleton asked when it saw that Lin Feng hadn't made his next move. Lin Feng said, Don't be in such a hurry. I still have some things to ask you. What else do you want to ask? Chapter 5192. Lin Feng said, I want to know what benefits I can get. What benefits? The golden skeleton leader couldn't help but stare deeply at Lin Feng. In his heart, he was sneering nonstop. His death was imminent. He was actually still thinking about benefits. What a foolish human. But now, he needed to appease Lin Feng. The leader of the golden skeletons asked, "What benefits are you looking for?" "I want your storage ring," Lin Feng said. The corner of the golden skeleton leader's mouth twitched violently. In the past, they had been searching for treasures all over the ocean. And those treasures, they were all in his storage ring. In other words, his storage ring. It contained treasures that would make countless people go crazy over it. How could he just casually give it to someone else? "You're not willing?" Lin Feng asked. "Perhaps you can ask for a few treasures," the leader of the golden skeletons said. "You're already a skeleton that's neither human nor ghost. Those treasures are of no use to you. Just give me the storage ring. You can't be that stingy, right?" Lin Feng pursed his lips. "Who says they're of no use to me? Once I reincarnate, they'll still be useful." The golden skeleton leader couldn't help but sneer inwardly. But these words, he naturally couldn't directly tell Lin Feng. But when he thought about how Lin Feng would definitely die later, giving the storage ring to Lin Feng now didn't seem like a big deal. Once he killed Lin Feng, wouldn't the storage ring still belong to him? When he thought of this, the golden skeleton leader said, "I'm not a stingy person. Since you want the storage ring, I'll give it to you." The golden skeleton leader took off the storage ring and tossed it to Lin Feng. Lin Feng stored the storage ring in his space-time pocket. The golden skeleton leader said, "I've given you the item. Now, can you take out the corpse of the sea lady and sacrifice it?" "Wait a moment, I'll sacrifice the corpse immediately," Lin Feng said. Next, he took out all kinds of strange items. For example, some array flags, offerings, tables, incense burners, and so on. "Why are you taking these things?" asked the leading golden skeleton creature. "Didn't you ask me to sacrifice the corpse of the sea maiden?" "Of course I'm going to build an altar," Lin Feng said. The leader of the golden skeletons was speechless. "There's no need to go through so much trouble. Just sacrifice it," Lin Feng replied. "Offering sacrifices is something that will damage one's own virtue, and one will suffer misfortune in the future. As such, I have to respect the sea maiden's corpse and build an altar with more offerings to make the ceremony more grand. Perhaps this way, I won't lose my own virtue. Do as you wish." The leader of the golden skeletons waved his hand. He was too lazy to bother with Lin Feng now, because Lin Feng really had a lot of things to do. The golden skeletons only wanted Lin Feng to settle everything quickly. Then, they would sacrifice the corpse of the sea maiden. When the time came, they would be able to transcend their tribulations and return. Lin Feng began to set up the altar. He placed the array flags around the altar. There were a total of 64 array flags. Lin Feng placed them in a special pattern. "Do you need array flags to build an altar for a sacrificial ceremony?" "Kid, what are you trying to do?" asked one of the golden skeletons. The other golden skeletons also felt that Lin Feng was up to no good. Thus, they looked at Lin Feng with unfriendly gazes. Lin Feng said, "There are so many of you surrounding me. Do you think I'm up to no good?" The golden skeletons pondered for a moment. Indeed, if Lin Feng was up to no good, wouldn't he be courting death? The army of skeletons had already surrounded this place. There was a restriction above that prevented anyone from leaving. Therefore, there was no way Lin Feng could escape. Lin Feng continued, "If I use array flags on this altar, it's the most respectful way to honor the dead. Array flags are actually the same as offerings, so if you don't understand, you can just watch. Don't disturb me." "Kid, how can you say that?" One of the golden skeletons glared at Lin Feng. The leader of the golden skeletons said, "Alright, that's enough." Then, he looked at Lin Feng and said, "Use whatever you want. Set up whatever you want. Don't waste any more time. Let's begin." Lin Feng nodded. After the temporary altar was completed, he stood on top of it, and sent his magic power into the 64 array flags. The 64 array flags were completely activated. Then, a rune appeared on each of the 64 array flags. The runes intertwined and surrounded the entire altar. Ha ha! Lin Feng suddenly burst into laughter. The golden skeletons realized that something was amiss. The leader of the golden skeletons looked coldly at Lin Feng and said, "Kid, what are you laughing at? Why aren't you starting the sacrificial ceremony?" Lin Feng said, "Idiot, do you think I don't know what you're thinking? Do you think I'll really believe your words? I was just fooling you. You're already a dead man, and you're swearing that you'll die a horrible death? You're still far from being able to play word games with me." The leader of the golden skeletons revealed a murderous look. He looked coldly at Lin Feng and said, "So you don't want to cooperate with us? If that's the case, we'll torture you to death." Chapter 5193. Lin Feng said, "It's useless. I've refined these formation flags for a long time. Now that I've activated them, you're dreaming if you think you can deal with me. Boy, you're really boasting shamelessly." The leader of the golden skeleton sneered, not taking Lin Feng seriously at all. "Attack!" He waved his hand. Then, the skeletons all attacked Lin Feng with all kinds of weapons in their hands. The power of each weapon was quite tyrannical. All kinds of powerful attacks bombarded Lin Feng. Facing these attacks, Lin Feng couldn't help but sneer. He formed a series of seals, which merged into the 64 formation flags. As the seals merged into the flags, the 64 formation flags formed a huge defensive shield. When the attacks of the skeletons came crashing down, unexpectedly, all of them were blocked by the defensive light barrier. After seeing this, the ghostly fire in the eyes of the leader of the golden skeletons flickered even more violently. Obviously, he was extremely angry. No wonder he was so angry. Lin Feng had made fun of him, and then he realized that Lin Feng had used the time he had been playing with him to create a powerful defensive barrier. Anyone who encountered such a thing would be in a bad mood. Especially these experts. They had strong self-esteem. So, they absolutely couldn't tolerate being humiliated. "Boy, do you think you can withstand the attacks of the skeletons with a turtle shell? Your tortoise shell might be strong, but how long can it last?" The leader of the golden skeletons said coldly. "When your defensive formation is broken, you still can't escape death. But don't worry, I won't let you die so easily. I'll cut off your flesh piece by piece, then pull out your soul and throw it into the endless purgatory. You'll never be reincarnated." It seemed that this guy really hated Lin Feng. He was gnashing his teeth in hatred. But it was no wonder. It would be strange if he didn't hate Lin Feng. Lin Feng said, "Do you think that the formation I set up with so many precious formation flags is only for defense? If that's the case, then you're gravely mistaken. The formation I set up is both offensive and defensive." The leader of the golden skeletons said disdainfully, "Both offensive and defensive? How laughable. Do you want to rely on this formation to deal with the skeletons?" "You're just daydreaming," said Lin Feng. "I didn't say that my deployment spell could deal with your skeleton army, but my deployment spell can connect to some of the deployment spells in Demon Valley. If I could activate the deployment spells in Demon Valley, do you think I would be able to destroy you?" Hearing this, the ghostly fire in the eyes of the golden skeletons flickered fiercely. The ghostly flames in the eye sockets of the rest of the golden skeletons, including the ordinary skeletons, began to flicker violently. Lin Feng's words, "It was indeed a great deterrent to them," was because the restrictions in Devil Stream were too powerful. If Lin Feng could really use the restrictions in Devil Stream to deal with them, how terrifying would that be? They felt that Lin Feng was just boasting. After all, activating the restrictions in Devil Stream was too difficult. But what if Lin Feng was telling the truth? This was not a good thing for them. The leader of the golden skeletons quickly said, "Attack with all your might and destroy the formation he set up." The skeletons did not dare to hesitate. They all attacked. At this moment, they no longer held back. Everyone, All of them had used their most powerful techniques. Therefore, when the skeletons' attacks gathered together, the power of their attacks was extremely terrifying. It was enough to make one's soul tremble. Bang! 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 The overwhelming attacks bombarded the defensive light barrier Lin Feng had created with his formation. However, the power of the defensive light barrier was still shocking. The attacks of the skeletons were still blocked. At this time, Lin Feng had already begun to activate the 64 array flags to communicate with the restrictions in Devil Stream. Borrowing the power of the restrictions to fight against the enemy was actually a very difficult thing to do. But for the cultivators of the Heaven Master lineage, it was a very normal thing. This was a normal operation for the cultivators of the Heaven Master lineage. Of course, it also depended on where the restrictions were used to fight against the enemy. Ordinary restrictions were naturally very easy to control. But Devil Stream was different. The restrictions here were very powerful, and even Lin Feng was afraid of them. It was really too difficult to use the restrictions here to fight against the enemy. However, although it was difficult, it was not completely impossible. Lin Feng knew that it was almost impossible to deal with the attacks of the skeletons, and tried to use the restrictions in Devil Stream to deal with the skeletons at the same time. That was why Lin Feng had set up this formation. The formation focused on defense. Once the defense was done, Lin Feng would have time to communicate with the restrictions in Devil Stream. In addition to defense, the formation could also create a special connection with the restrictions in Devil Stream. This connection, it could help Lin Feng to successfully communicate with the restrictions in Devil Stream. Sure enough, soon, Lin Feng communicated with the restrictions in Devil Stream. When Lin Feng communicated with the restrictions in Devil Stream, Lin Feng immediately began to activate the restrictions in Devil Stream. Boom! Boom! Immediately after, an earth-shattering sound spread in the air. Lin Feng had activated the deployment spell of Demon Valley. The activation of the Devil Stream's restrictions was simply shocking to the heavens and earth. This kind of power was really terrifying to the extreme. Even the powerful creatures in the Devil Stream were looking at the 13 mountain peaks in horror. The restrictions in Devil Stream were usually scattered all around. How could it be like now? Showing their might together? Even the powerful creatures in the restricted areas only dared to watch from afar and did not dare to approach the situation in front of them. And at this time, the power of the restrictions descended from the sky and blasted towards the skeletons. Bang! 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 When the power of the restrictions blasted into the skeletons were sent flying and their bodies exploded. However, Lin Feng discovered that after the skeletons' bodies were destroyed, they began to recover at an extremely fast speed. We are undead creatures. Chapter 5194. Clang! His saber landed on Lin Feng's defensive barrier, causing it to shake violently. This guy's strength was truly terrifying. Lin Feng felt his hair stand on end. However, the barrier Lin Feng summoned was powerful enough. As long as it was there, this guy wouldn't be able to destroy it in a short time. Lin Feng sneered. How can there be undead in this world? This so-called undying is just a lie. If you find the right method, this so-called undying will become a joke. But don't worry, I won't kill you guys today. That would be letting you off too easily. When Lin Feng finished talking, he started chanting a spell. Almighty Tao of Destiny, please descend with the power of destiny. Turn these undead creatures who should have turned into undead creatures without godly power. They should be punished. They should no longer possess such great power. When Lin Feng finished chanting, a powerful force of destiny descended from the void. Lin Feng didn't directly kill these undead creatures when he was communicating with the Tao of Destiny. These guys were a bunch of evil and heartless people when they were alive. Killing them directly would instead allow them to be freed. Death wasn't the scariest thing. The scariest thing was despair. Now, Lin Feng wanted to deprive them of their godly strength so that they wouldn't die. But they wouldn't die. They would suffer an endless amount of pain. That was what Lin Feng wanted to do. Now, Lin Feng wanted to deprive them of their godly strength, but they wouldn't die. They would suffer an endless amount of pain. That was what Lin Feng wanted to do. Bang! 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 Lin Feng controlled the power of the barrier to continue attacking the undead creatures. The undead creatures were sent flying like before. Their bodies were blasted apart, but their bodies reassembled at a speed visible to the naked eye. However, as their bodies reassembled, the power of destiny wrapped around them. In fact, the undead were at their weakest when they reformed. At this time, they needed to condense their divine force. But at this time, fate power would directly devour the divine force of the undead. After losing their divine force, the undead would turn into ordinary skeletons. They didn't have much fighting strength left. It was like a middle-aged man in his prime turning into an old man. At this age, even standing up would be a problem, let alone hurting others. The undead creatures were the same. As soon as they reassembled their bodies, many parts of their bodies began to separate from their bodies. A gust of wind could blow their bodies apart. How did it become like this? How did it become like this? The undead creatures roared unwillingly. They were in despair, truly in despair. They had lost their strength. They would become incomparably weak, and they would lose all hope of surviving the calamity. All these years, they had been tortured by the curse of the Sea Maiden before her death. They were living a life worse than death. Their motivation to continue living was that one day, they would be able to survive the calamity. But now, Lin Feng had personally destroyed all their hopes. If they had been killed, it would have been fine. But the key was that they were still alive. Wouldn't that mean that they would be tormented for eternity? Therefore, the undead creatures seemed to have gone crazy. The great art of destiny! Damn it, damn it! The leader of the golden skeletons couldn't help but roar in anger. He was experienced and knowledgeable, and he recognized the great art of destiny that Lin Feng used. His emotions fluctuated violently because he knew that they might not be able to do anything to Lin Feng. Once Lin Feng took away the Sea Maiden's corpse, they would be completely trapped in this place. From then on, they wouldn't be able to leave and would have to suffer endless torment. Thinking of this, the leader of the golden skeletons trembled. He absolutely didn't want to see such a thing happen. "Fight him to the death!" shouted the leader of the golden skeletons. "Fight! Fight him to the death!" The dozen or so golden skeletons roared, and the other skeletons followed suit. The skeletons' bodies began to burn. As their bodies burned, an extremely terrifying power was released from their bodies. When Lin Feng sensed the power emitted from their bodies, he couldn't help but be slightly surprised. These guys actually knew a secret technique that could increase their battle strength. Lin Feng didn't dare to be careless. He took out a few more formation flags and inserted them into the ground. These formation flags were very precious, and they would be destroyed after a single use. They were also very difficult to refine, but Lin Feng didn't have any misgivings about dealing with the army of undead. He could think of a way to get more things after he used them up, but if he died, he would really be done for. After getting the support of the new formation flags, the defensive barrier suddenly became much stronger. Therefore, even though the undead were going all out, the defensive barrier condensed by Lin Feng was also greatly strengthened. Therefore, the attacks of the undead weren't able to break through the defensive barrier condensed by Lin Feng. On the other hand, Lin Feng didn't stop attacking. The power of the restrictions and the power of the Great Fate technique made it difficult for the undead to resist. The army of undead gradually turned into ordinary skeletons that had lost their divine power. They were simply pitifully weak. In the end, only a dozen or so golden skeletons and 100 relatively stronger undead were left. When these guys saw that the situation was hopeless, they turned around and wanted to escape, but Lin Feng didn't give them the opportunity. Lin Feng used his domineering magnetic field. Suddenly, their speed plummeted, and they couldn't avoid the attacks of the restrictions. After being attacked by the restrictions, their bodies were shattered, and the power of fate surged, instantly depriving them of their divine power. The golden skeletons resisted for a longer time than the other undead. After all, they were relatively stronger. However, In order to deal with these guys, Lin Feng directly flew out. When they saw Lin Feng flying out, the skeleton's killing intent soared to the sky and attacked Lin Feng. However, because Lin Feng could control the power of the restrictions, the attacks of the golden skeletons were dissolved by the restrictions. Lin Feng cooperated with the power of the restrictions to seriously injure the golden skeletons, including the leader of the golden skeletons. The power of fate deprived the golden skeletons of their divine power. These powerful golden skeletons also turned into ordinary skeletons. Chapter 5195. Why is this happening? I can't accept this. I can't accept this. The leading golden skeleton roared. He had been looking forward to the day he would be able to complete his tribulation. He had been waiting for this day for so many years, but the result was so cruel that he almost went insane. Why are you helping the Sea Lady? Why are you helping her? You have nothing to do with the Sea Maiden. She is the daughter of the Sea God while you are a human cultivator. What is the reason for you to enter Devil's Stream to help her? Asked the leader of the golden skeletons, staring at Lin Feng. Before, Lin Feng had said that he had come here by accident, and that he had seen the Sea Maiden, so he wanted to bury her. The leader of the golden skeletons didn't believe him at all. Lin Feng was lying, and he didn't believe him at all. It would be strange if he believed him. He wanted to know the answer. Lin Feng sent the leading golden skeleton flying with a kick. Lin Feng's kick shattered the leading golden skeleton's body. Get the hell out of my sight! I don't have any obligation to tell you these things, said Lin Feng. Lin Feng sneered. Lin Feng didn't stay any longer. He quickly flew out. Devil's Stream was too dangerous, so Lin Feng didn't want to stay here for too long. Now that he had found the Sea Lady's corpse, it was time to leave. The other skeletons naturally didn't dare to stop Lin Feng. Therefore, Lin Feng left the 13th mountain without a hitch. Earlier, when the restrictive power of the 13 mountains was activated, many of the creatures in Devil's Stream were alarmed. Most of them had hidden in their nests to observe the situation. That was why Lin Feng didn't discover a single terrifying creature when he left. When he arrived at the 9th mountain, Lin Feng couldn't help but worry. Lin Feng had been trapped in the 9th mountain. If it wasn't for that mysterious ball of light, Lin Feng didn't know if he would have been able to escape. The 9th mountain was indeed very strange. Perhaps anything related to the number 9 was extremely terrifying. What should he do next? This was a rather troublesome matter. Should he charge out directly? Could he do that? Lin Feng was nervous. Should he go around the 9th mountain? But there seemed to be no way around it. After thinking about it, it seemed that he could only go through the 9th mountain. Hopefully, everything would go smoothly. Thinking about that, Lin Feng took a deep breath and entered the 9th mountain. He carefully observed his surroundings. Lin Feng was surprised that he didn't encounter any danger along the way. He was about to leave the 9th mountain. Lin Feng even heaved a sigh of relief. But at this moment, Lin Feng felt that something was wrong. The sounds of insects and birds had disappeared. The entire forest became extremely quiet. Suddenly, Lin Feng's eyes narrowed. He saw a ball of black flames approaching him. There seemed to be a terrifying creature in the ball of black flames. Normally speaking, the creatures in this place would choose to hide their true body. This was a form of self-protection. But this creature didn't choose to do so. Lin Feng didn't know what this creature in the ball of black flames was, but Lin Feng could feel a suffocating pressure surging towards him. It was a terrible feeling. The creatures in the Devil's Stream were already terrifying, let alone the creature in the 9th mountain. In fact, these powerful creatures were extremely sensitive to danger. The creatures in the Devil's Stream wouldn't easily set foot on the 9th mountain. This was because the 9th mountain represented misfortune. They naturally didn't want to be tainted by such misfortune, so they wouldn't enter the 9th mountain under normal circumstances. Only those who could ignore misfortune would enter the 9th mountain, and such a creature would be unimaginably powerful. Lin Feng had a feeling. This creature in the ball of black flames might be a creature that could ignore misfortune. Suddenly, the creature in the ball of black flames sped up and charged towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng's expression became extremely ugly. The other party didn't come with good intentions. Lin Feng quickly took out his epical war spear. To deal with such a terrifying creature, he naturally needed to use a supreme treasure like the epical war spear. Perhaps even divine abilities wouldn't be able to break through this creature's defense. Die! Lin Feng stabbed the epical war spear at the terrifying creature in the ball of black flames. Bang! The terrifying creature swiped its claw and sent Lin Feng's epical war spear flying. Lin Feng's epical war spear stabbed into the ground. When Lin Feng fought against others, even if he was no match for them, it was rare for him to lose his weapon. But now, his epical war spear ghost had lost his grip. Before this was simply unimaginable. The creature in the ball of black flames quickly arrived in front of Lin Feng and swiped its claw at Lin Feng. The aura of death instantly enveloped Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng hurriedly performed the heaven patching technique. His body instantly disappeared. But at this moment, the terrifying creature in the ball of black flames whipped its tail towards the void. Bang! When its tail hit the void, something shocking happened. Overwhelming power! It rushed into the void. Lin Feng was actually sent flying. Crack! Crack! 2 more cracks appeared on Lin Feng's stone armor. Lin Feng wanted to cry but had no tears. The attack just now almost destroyed his stone armor. Lin Feng's body had not stabilized yet. The creature in the ball of black flames pounced at Lin Feng again. Then, a claw came out of the ball of black flames and swiped at Lin Feng. Lin Feng activated the power of the arm of the dragon and elephant and swiped at the claw. But, surprisingly, Lin Feng was blown away by that claw. He sensed a strength which could topple mountains and overturn seas penetrate into his body. That power. It shook his blood and chi, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Of course, this was not the most terrifying thing. The most terrifying thing was that terrifying attack. That terrifying existence appeared in front of Lin Feng again as if it had teleported. Then, an invisible pressure enveloped Lin Feng. Lin Feng quickly realized that his body could not move. He knew that he had been imprisoned by that terrifying existence. Chapter 5196. Lin Feng didn't know how strong that cultivator was because his draconic elephant arm was 6 times stronger than before, but it hadn't been able to stop that cultivator's attack. From that, one could imagine how strong that cultivator was. Its power. It could only be described as shocking. Now that Lin Feng was imprisoned by this terrifying existence, he couldn't dodge or resist. If his head really suffered this terrifying attack, when the time came, wouldn't he die miserably? This guy. It was definitely a king-level existence, and it was the king of Devil Stream. Otherwise, it would be impossible for it to have such terrifying strength. Lin Feng felt an unprecedented sense of crisis. He tried to take out some powerful magic treasures to deal with this terrifying existence, but Lin Feng found that his connection with time and space was cut off. It was this terrifying existence. It cut off his connection with time and space. It's over. Lin Feng's face turned pale. The situation in front of him. It was really too despairing. Just as the terrifying existence's claws were about to hit Lin Feng's head. Suddenly, a divine light shone on Lin Feng. That divine light. It was dazzling. It instantly enveloped Lin Feng. Shwa! The light flashed. Lin Feng disappeared without a trace. Damn, I didn't die? Lin Feng appeared 100 meters away, revealing a surprised expression. Originally, Lin Feng thought that he would definitely die. But he didn't expect that he would survive. Lin Feng looked not far away. There was a ball of light there. When he saw that ball of light, Lin Feng revealed a shocked expression. When he was trapped here before, wasn't it because he saw a ball of light that he was finally able to get out of this place? That ball of light seemed to be the one in front of him. This made Lin Feng's face reveal a happy expression. This ball of light appeared to save him, which meant that it was fated with him. Perhaps he wouldn't have to die. Lonely traveler, you have crossed the line. At this moment, a cold voice came from the black flames. Clearly, the terrifying being in the black flames had spoken. Lin Feng still hadn't figured out what the terrifying creature in the black flames was. Let's call it the Black Flame Beast for now. This name sounds too depressing. It sounded like the name of a low-level ferocious beast, but in reality, the terror of this black flame beast was enough to make the world pale in comparison. Golden Immortal level? Sage Immortal realm? Anyway, he was very strong. Lin Feng wouldn't doubt that this guy was at the Sage realm. I will attack when I want to. What can you do about it? A voice came from the ball of light. Listen to the voice. He seemed to be quite young. The black flame beast referred to this person as the Lone Walker. Why was it called the Lone Walker? Lin Feng didn't quite understand. Now, Lin Feng was able to contact the Demon Lord. Lin Feng asked. Demon Lord, the black flame beast said that the being in the ball of light is the Lone Walker. What does that mean? The Demon Lord replied. The Lone Walker refers to a special kind of person. This kind of person's cultivation is extremely high. They use some secret technique to divide themselves into three. Divide into three? What the hell? What kind of technique is that? Did he refine 2 clones? Lin Feng asked. No. All 3 of them are his body, not his avatars. It's just that these 3 bodies are somewhat special. Of these 3 bodies, one is the body of the present, one is the body of the future, and one is the body of the past. The body of the present lives in the present, the body of the past lives in the past, and the body of the future lives in the future. No way? Doesn't that sound a little unbelievable? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. The Demon Lord's words were indeed unbelievable. Didn't you cultivate the past, present, and future chapters? Actually, dividing one's body into 3 and entering the past and future isn't impossible. The only reason you can't do it is because you're not strong enough. The Demon Lord explained. If that's the case, then this existence is one of the past, present, and future sovereigns? Asked Lin Feng telepathically. It should be. The Demon Lord nodded. But it's hard to say which body it is. Why divide into 3? Isn't that weakening your own strength? Lin Feng asked, puzzled. Yes, it does weaken your own strength. The reason it's divided into 3 is because people like him want to surpass the limits of cultivation. The Demon Lord narrowed his eyes. Lin Feng could understand after hearing the Demon Lord's explanation. Surpassing the limits of cultivation. It did require some special and powerful techniques. Doing things that ordinary people couldn't do. Only then could one complete transcendence. But the method of transcendence varied from person to person. Perhaps the other party felt that this was a method worth trying, so he chose this method. At this moment, the Black Flame Beast and the Lone Walker were fighting. Because the Black Flame Beast's target was Lin Feng. The Lone Walker saved Lin Feng. Although you're strong, you're not necessarily my match, the Black Flame Beast said coldly. Are you daydreaming? The Lone Walker said. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. Judging from the Lone Walker's tone. This guy. He probably had a very shameless personality, right? But Lin Feng also knew. Being shameless was only on the surface. This kind of person's heart was usually stronger. Their sense of responsibility was probably many times stronger than those so-called righteous cultivators. You're courting death. The Black Flame Beast was very angry. It flew into the air. 10,000 Demon Sky Claw! Suddenly, the Black Flame Beast attacked. A claw slapped towards the Lone Walker. Suddenly, Lin Feng felt that the Black Flame Beast seemed to have become the lord of 10,000 demons, as if it had become the ruler of heaven and earth. With just a thought, it could destroy a large area of time and space. The Black Flame Beast's attack. It seemed to be able to destroy a huge life planet. The most frightening thing was that it was able to perfectly compress the power of such a powerful attack. This ability was really terrifying. Get lost. The existence in the ball of light curled his lips and slapped across the void. Bang! The black flame beast's attack was broken in an instant. Then, an invisible force slammed into the black flame beast's body. The black flame beast fell into the 17 mountain peaks. The black flame beast was severely injured. It was so scared that its whole body was trembling. It quickly escaped into the forest. The ball of light turned around and left. Junior Lin Feng, thanks Senior for saving my life. How should I address Senior? Lin Feng hurriedly said. Chapter 5197. After saying that, the ball of light quickly moved forward. In the blink of an eye, it was already very far away from Lin Feng. Lin Feng finally regained his senses. I'm also called Ji, Lin Feng said. Lin Feng felt somewhat apprehensive because his name was actually the same as the mysterious person's. Although, the name Ji was only Lin Feng's alias. However, Lin Feng had used his mother's family name to create this alias. It had an extraordinary meaning. The lone traveler who saved him was also called Ji. Perhaps it was fate in the unseen world. Lin Feng did not dare hesitate and hurriedly left. Lin Feng successfully flew out of Devil Ravine. When they saw Lin Feng, the cursed doll and little son hurriedly flew toward Lin Feng. Damn, you're really lucky. You actually managed to escape from Devil Ravine! The cursed doll exclaimed. Lin Feng was speechless. Were you hoping that I wouldn't be able to escape? The cursed doll said. Of course not. It's just that Devil Ravine is indeed very dangerous. I was worried about your safety. Now that you've escaped, I'm happy for you. Lin Feng did not dwell too much on this matter. He said, We can't stay here for too long. Let's leave quickly. The cursed doll said, It seems like you really found the corpse of the sea lady? Lin Feng nodded. Lin Feng, the cursed doll, and little son flew out of the ravine. After reaching the ocean outside, Lin Feng took off the stone robe. Lin Feng's mouth twitched violently when he saw the 3 cracks on the stone robe. The stone robe was rather badly damaged. He wondered if it could be repaired. However, even if it could be repaired, it would probably require some extremely special items to do so. Lin Feng put the stone robe away and said, Let's find a place to rest first. We'll see if we can find any clues from the corpse. Let's find a nearby island to stop at, the cursed doll said. Following which, Lin Feng and the other 2 began searching for islands. There were quite a number of islands in this region. Islands of various sizes were scattered all over the place like stars in the sky. Lin Feng and the other 2 landed on a nameless island. They opened up a temporary cave residence. Then, Lin Feng summoned the corpse of the sea maiden. The corpse of the sea lady was immortal. Even though she had been dead for countless years, she was still as beautiful as ever. After seeing her face, the cursed doll couldn't help but exclaim, I really didn't expect this woman to be so beautiful. She's even more beautiful than I imagined. Her face can even surpass many peerless fairies. The cursed doll's praise was not an exaggeration. The sea girl's face was indeed beautiful. The sea girl was a mermaid. Mermaids. They were a branch of mermaids, so mermaids were often extremely beautiful. However, they were different from ordinary mermaids. Mermaids were not born from the union of a man and a woman. Mermaids were born because they drank the holy spring water. They did not need to mate with a man to give birth to a child. Moreover, mermaids had always been hostile towards men. Therefore, mermaids. Naturally, they would not mate with a man. Of course, this wasn't absolute. There were always some unexpected things that could happen. As for the mermaid race, for example, the mermaid race that the sea girl belonged to, they could give birth to children through the union of a man and a woman. Lin Feng said, She's a mermaid. Mermaids are very beautiful, so it's normal for her to be so beautiful. The cursed doll said, Not all mermaids are extremely beautiful. Oh? There's such a saying? Lin Feng said in surprise. Of course. The cursed doll nodded and said, The saying that mermaids are very beautiful actually refers to the fact that the mermaids are extremely beautiful. However, the mermaids are often extremely ugly. I see. Lin Feng could not help but nod. This kind of strange racial characteristic was very common in the world of cultivators. Therefore, Lin Feng was not surprised. How did her wound heal? Lin Feng looked at the sea girl's chest in surprise. That was because that place had been pierced by a war spear. That was why there was a piercing wound in that place. But now, the wound had completely healed. It was too strange. If the sea girl was still alive, Lin Feng did not find it strange that her body was recovering so quickly. However, the key was that the sea girl had been dead for who knew how many years. Even if she was a cultivator from an undead family, if she had been dead for many years, his injury would not heal on its own. There must be a demon behind this abnormality. Therefore, Lin Feng felt that something was not right. Lin Feng said, "Previously, there was a wound on her chest, but now that wound is gone." "There's such a thing?" The cursed doll could not help but reveal a surprised expression. "Big sister won't be resurrected, right?" Lil Sun looked at Lin Feng and asked. Lin Feng laughed bitterly and said, "I don't think so. If she wakes up, she will probably not be her anymore. She will probably be a Een corpse." Becoming a Een corpse was also a kind of new life. However, Een corpses were formed from dead cultivators, and dead people should not continue to exist. However, Een corpses still existed in the human world. This went against the laws of nature and the laws of heaven and earth. Therefore, Een corpses had to pay an extremely heavy price. For example, their body, soul, spirit, and other aspects would be tortured. It could be seen as a curse. They had to endure endless torture, living a life worse than death. Therefore, Een corpses' lives were often tragic. "It doesn't seem like she will turn into a Een corpse, because there are no signs of it on her body." The cursed doll observed for a while and said, "Maybe we're overthinking it," Lin Feng said. Then, Lin Feng observed for a while and realized that there was still no movement from the sea girl's corpse. Lin Feng could only attribute the recovery of the sea girl's wound to her body's instinctive self-recovery. Otherwise, how could he explain it? The cursed doll's right hand was placed above the sea girl's abdomen, about 30 centimeters away. A special kind of energy surged out of the cursed doll's palm, and that special energy surged into the sea girl's dantian. The next moment, Lin Feng felt a violent energy fluctuation from the sea girl's dantian. Following that, a ball of holy light flew out from the sea girl's dantian. Within the holy light, it was wrapped in a jade-green crystal. What is this? Chapter 5198. The cursed doll held the green crystal in its hand and observed it for a while before saying, "This is a memory crystal." "A memory crystal? Is that so? I've seen memory crystals before, but they don't look like this." Lin Feng frowned. The cursed doll said, "The memory crystal you saw is probably a low-level memory crystal. The highest level memory crystal is this kind of green crystal. You can input some important information into it, and then hide the memory crystal in your body. There are many acupoints in the body. In addition, the dantian of a cultivator is mysterious. If you hide the memory crystal in some hidden acupoints or somewhere in the dantian, it will be very difficult for a cultivator to find the memory crystal." Lin Feng said, "If that's the case, this memory crystal was left behind by the sea goddess?" "That should be the case." The cursed doll nodded. Lin Feng said, "I wonder if there's any information about the sea god's palace inside? Who knows? Maybe there is, or maybe there isn't. We'll know once we check it," the cursed doll said. Then, his divine sense entered the memory crystal. "How is it?" Lin Feng asked. The cursed doll handed the memory crystal to Lin Feng. Lin Feng's divine sense also entered the memory crystal and heard a voice. "West Sea and South Sea. Sea God's ancient city. Billions of Oceanids believe in the Sea God. Sea God's divine light shines upon the world." However, there was nothing else in the memory crystal. After that, there was no other content. and this paragraph actually sounded like a limerick. Lin Feng said. It didn't say where the Sea God's palace is, but it mentioned the West Sea, South Sea, and Sea God's ancient city. Perhaps the Sea God's palace is in Sea God's ancient city, and Sea God's ancient city is at the border between the West Sea and South Sea. That should be the case. What should we do next? Should we go to the border between the West Sea and South Sea? The cursed doll asked. Lin Feng thought about it and said, All right, let's go there, but before that, let's go to Immortal Moon Island. Why are we going there? The cursed doll asked doubtfully. Lin Feng said, Previously, a few friends came to the West Sea world to find the place where sacred ancestor Samsara passed away. They said that they would inform me if they found it. At that time, they already had some clues, so I estimate that it won't take them too long to find the place where sacred ancestor Samsara passed away. They still don't know that I've come to the West Sea world, so I plan to leak the news. Once they hear the news, they will definitely find a way to find me. That way, they won't have to send people to the capital of Sin to look for me. Holy shit! The place where sacred ancestor Samsara died! He's such a strong cultivator. You want to go there? I want to go too. The cursed doll squealed excitedly. Of course. However, let's first search for the ancient city of the Sea God and wait for news from my friends, said Lin Feng. All right. The cursed doll quickly nodded. Lin Feng, the cursed doll, and Lil Sun returned to the Immortal Moon Island. Celestial Moon Island. It was as lively as ever. After arriving at the island, Lin Feng and the cursed doll kept a low profile. The all-seeing pavilion had an office on the Immortal Moon Island, so Lin Feng, the cursed doll, and Lil Sun went directly to the all-seeing pavilion's office. The all-seeing pavilion was the most well-informed, so asking them to help spread the news or find Taoist Qing Shan and the others was definitely the best choice. An elder received Lin Feng's group. This elder's surname was Zhou, and he was a very kind person. After both parties were seated, Elder Zhou asked, Young master, may I know what information you wish to gather? Lin Feng asked. Does the all-seeing pavilion have any information about Taoist Qing Shan, Fairy Qianhe, Lu Wuchen, and Old Man Ku Hai? When he heard that Lin Feng was asking about the four great experts, Elder Zhou was slightly surprised. However, Elder Zhou was no ordinary person. He said, Some time ago, the four great experts did enter the West Sea world. Lin Feng asked, Where are they now? Elder Zhou replied, They stayed on the Immortal Moon Island for 3 days before disappearing. No one knows where they went, but I'm guessing that they might have gone to a few dangerous places in the West Sea world, such as the Lost Sky Sea, the Disorderly Burial Sea, and a few other sea regions. Those are all places where people rarely go. If they entered those places, they might be able to hide from the eyes of other cultivators. Lin Feng nodded and said, I'll have to trouble the all-seeing pavilion to help me find out. If you can find any information about them, send someone to inform the four great experts that an old friend has arrived in the West Sea world ahead of time and is heading to the border between the West Sea and the South Sea. Tell them to wait for a while, or they can go to the border between the West Sea and the South Sea to search for them. If you can't find any information about the four great experts, the all-seeing pavilion will find someone to spread the news. I'm sure the four great experts will hear about it when the time comes. Elder Zhou was extremely shocked because he felt that this young man before him was not simple at all. He didn't know if this young man was helping to pass on a message, or if he himself was an old friend of the four great experts. If it was the former, it would be easier to explain, but if it was the latter, then it would be too shocking. Elder Zhou said, The all-seeing pavilion will definitely do our best to help young master deal with this matter. After hearing Elder Zhou's promise, Lin Feng couldn't help but nod. Then, Lin Feng asked, How much will it cost? 1 million immortal stones. Elder Zhou said. Lin Feng took out 1 million immortal stones and handed them to Elder Zhou. Then, he left with the cursed doll and the small son. They didn't rest on the Immortal Moon Island. Instead, they headed straight for the border between the West Sea and the South Sea. Meanwhile, in a palace deep within the Immortal Moon Island, a dragon cultivator, an absolute beauty, a cultivator with wings on his back, an evil cultivator in gray robes and a bamboo hat, and a tall and sturdy devil cultivator were all gathered together. We must capture the son of the ancient Sun Emperor. I'm sure everyone knows how important he is. The Absolute Beauty said. The Winged Cultivator said. The two people next to the son of the ancient Sun Emperor are very strong. It'll be very difficult to snatch the son of the ancient Sun Emperor from them. Even if the 5 of us work together, it'll still be difficult. We need to find other experts to act with us, the Dragon Cultivator said. The others frowned. The rest of the people frowned slightly. In fact, they did not want others to be involved in this matter. However, it seemed like there was no other way. As for the Devil Cultivator and the Evil Cultivator, they didn't know much about Lin Feng and the Cursed Doll, so they didn't say anything. Who's more reliable? The Absolute Beauty asked. I can help you. Chapter 5199. Who is it? The 5 experts said in a deep voice. The other party was actually able to appear without a sound, which showed how powerful he was. Swish. With a flash of light, a cultivator appeared. He was very young. If Lin Feng was here, he would definitely recognize who this person was. Xiezi. It was actually him. Previously, the evil ancestors' orthodoxy had been taken by this person, including the stone pagoda, evil ancestors' pagoda. Of course, Lin Feng and the others had snatched a portion of the treasures. Xiezi was very powerful, his talent was heaven-defying, and his cultivation was heaven-defying. His luck was also incomparably strong. Such a person was destined to have a glorious life. Who are you? The beautiful cultivator coldly looked at Xiezi. The other 4 great cultivators also stood up and surrounded Xiezi. Each of them had a cold gaze. Everyone, there's no need to be so hostile towards me, because I'm your friend, not your enemy. Xiezi said. What a joke, when did we ever have a friend like you? The Winged Cultivator sneered. From now on we do, Xiezi said. The Winged Cultivator's mouth couldn't help but twitch slightly. He coldly said, I'd like to see how capable you are. As soon as he finished speaking, the Winged Cultivator slapped towards Xiezi. Xiezi waved his sleeve. An invisible force surged out. The cultivator with the wings on his back was actually forced to retreat. You! The Winged Cultivator's expression changed greatly. He naturally knew that Xiezi was powerful. Or else. It was also impossible for Xiezi to come here without making a sound, and even deceive everyone. Even the 5 great experts did not discover any traces of Xiezi. However, the Winged Cultivator didn't expect Xiezi to be so powerful. With a casual attack, he dispelled his attack and even suppressed him. This kind of strength was truly terrifying. The other 4 experts also had expressions of disbelief. Their strength was on par with that of the Winged Cultivator. The Winged Cultivator was suppressed. Didn't that mean, if they were to attack, they would also be suppressed greatly? Perhaps, even if the 5 experts joined forces, they wouldn't be a match for this person in front of them? That was very likely to happen. Xiezi said. You're all people with great luck, and your cultivations are also very powerful. In the future, you'll have a chance to break through to the Golden Immortal Realm. If you're lucky, you might even break through to the Saint Immortal Realm. Hearing Xiezi say so, the 5 great powerhouses could not help being somewhat proud. No matter what era it was. Even in the most dazzling eras, Gold Immortals and Saint Immortals were lofty existences. Xiezi continued. But times have changed. So what if they're Golden Immortals or Sage Immortals? When the end of the epoch arrives, it will still be difficult to escape death. During the end of the epoch, it will still be like an ant. Hearing Xiezi's words, the faces of the 5 powerhouses could not help but turn slightly pale. The end of an era. It was indeed a matter of despair. Many people didn't want to think about it. However, he had no choice but to face these things. With your strength, you won't be able to survive the end of the epoch. Therefore, you need to rely on a wise ruler. Xiezi continued. Are you trying to get us to join you? The Dragon Clan cultivator couldn't help but sneer. Although Siezi was powerful. However, he wanted them to rely on Siezi. This was also impossible. Not to rely on me. He's seeking refuge with my master, Siezi said. What? You have a master? The faces of the 5 great powerhouses suddenly changed. Siezi was already so powerful, then how powerful was Siezi's master? Could it be a Saint Realm powerhouse? Was there such a powerhouse in the Undying Realm? There didn't seem to be one. This person was not a cultivator from the Undying Realm? You're a foreign cultivator? The Demon Dao cultivator asked. I came from the wasteland. Siezi smiled slightly. Who is your master? The beautiful woman asked. Heaven exterminating ruler. Siezi smiled and said. Hiss. Sounds of cold air being sucked in could be heard. The faces of the 5 great powerhouses were filled with incomparable shock. The wasteland. For them, it was very distant and very mysterious. It was a place they did not dare to imagine. As for the ruler of the wasteland, he was a legendary figure. The person in front of them was actually the disciple of the ruler of the wasteland. Really? Inconceivable. Siezi's image immediately became tall and mighty. Why would a proud son of heaven like you come to a low-level world like the Undying Realm? The Dragon Dao cultivator asked. He could not understand Siezi's purpose in doing so. Sect assessment, Siezi said indifferently. After hearing Siezi's words, the 5 great powerhouses immediately understood. It seemed that the ruler of the wasteland should not only have Siezi as his disciple. If he wanted to achieve outstanding results among his fellow disciples, he would have to achieve something. The 5 great powerhouses did not know what kind of assessment the ruler of the wasteland had set. They were also very tactful and did not ask. They only knew, in front of them, a great opportunity was in front of them. To rely on this young master in front of them. In the future, limitless. Greetings, young master. The 5 great powerhouses bowed to Siezi. The corner of Siezi's mouth curled up into a faint smile, then he said, You may rise. Not long after, Siezi led the 5 great powerhouses and left Immortal Moon Island. Lin Feng was not very clear about Siezi's matters. At this moment, the Xianyuan ancient star city was flying rapidly above the sea. Even at full speed, it took a full month and a half to reach the border between the South Sea and the West Sea. Although it was at the border, this sea was still extremely vast. If a godly realm cultivator wanted to fly across the border, it would take at least 100 years. Arriving here, Lin Feng's vision was blurry. As for how to find the ancient sea god city, Lin Feng was not particularly clear. He only had a limerick as a clue, but the clues provided by the limerick were very limited. Therefore, Lin Feng planned to find an island where cultivators gathered to stop for a while. Then, he would inquire about the ancient sea god's city on the island. Perhaps, he might be able to inquire about the ancient sea god's city. If he could find some information about the ancient sea god's city, combined with the limerick, he might be able to find the ancient sea god's city. Coiling Dragon Island. It was a huge island near the border between the West Sea and the South Sea. When the cultivators of the West Sea went to the border sea, they would often rest on Coiling Dragon Island. A large number of cultivators flew from all directions and then entered Coiling Dragon Island. Lin Feng put away the Xianyuan ancient star city. Chapter 5200. Lin Feng and the other 2 boarded the Coiling Dragon Island. Brother, I'm hungry. Lil Sun looked pitifully at Lin Feng. During this period of time, Lil Sun had been eating spirit fruits to allay his hunger. Eating spirit fruits was good for cultivation. But Lil Sun was only a few years old after all. If adults ate spirit fruits every day, they would probably vomit. Not to mention a child like Lil Sun. Lil Sun's age was the time when he was the most curious about the outside world. At the same time, it was also the time when he was the most gluttonous. Of course, he needed to eat something delicious. Looking at the little guy's aggrieved expression, one could tell how much Lil Sun wanted a good meal now. Alright, let's go eat something delicious now. Lin Feng rubbed Lil Sun's head and said with a smile. Great, great. Lil Sun immediately clapped his hands in joy. In fact, there were very few people selling food in the world of cultivators. The stalls on the streets were basically selling all kinds of things related to cultivation. As for candied haws, sugar figurines, buns, and desserts, there were none. This was completely different from the secular world. There were many shops selling all kinds of snacks on the streets of the secular world. That kind of place attracted children. For example, candied haws, sugar figurines, and other sweet things were the most attractive to children. Lil Sun had never been to a city in the secular world, so he didn't know that there were so many delicious things in this world. The island was bustling with noise and excitement, with people coming and going. Many people who found good things in the sea would come to the island to sell them. Roar! In the distance, a loud dragon's roar could be heard. Then, more than a dozen giant dragons flew over quickly. Dragon Knights, look, it's the Dragon Knights! When they saw those giant dragons, many people couldn't help but exclaim. Those giant dragons were extremely terrifying, and their dragon's might was vast and mighty for 3,000 miles. It was so oppressive that countless people almost couldn't breathe. Many cultivators looked at the Dragon Knights in the sky in shock and horror. Those Dragon Knights were dressed in battle armor, and held spears or swords in their hands. They were very heroic and extraordinary. They rode the giant dragons and quickly flew towards the depths of the island. Are they the Dragon Knights of the 10,000 Dragons sect? A cultivator said. It should be. Other than the 10,000 Dragons sect, no other forces have so many Dragon Knights. Someone replied. These Dragon Knights are incomparably terrifying existences. Coupled with the cooperation of the dragons, they can be described as heaven-defying. Generally, they act alone and rarely act together. Could it be that something big has happened? Why are there so many Dragon Knights here? Someone said. I'm not sure. Even if something big happened, it's not something that low-level cultivators like us can participate in. A cultivator said. While everyone was still talking about the Dragon Knights, suddenly, a bloody light surged in the distance. About 20 cultivators wearing bloody clothes quickly flew over from the bloody light. Blood Robes Guard, people from the Blood Robes Pavilion. At this moment, a cultivator exclaimed. A group of Dragon Knights just passed by, and now a group of Blood-Robe Guards has appeared. I'm certain that something big has happened. A cultivator said. After the Blood Strike Guards left, many people started discussing the Dragon Knights and the Blood Strike Guards. Lin Feng, the cursed doll, and Little Sun found a restaurant that looked pretty good and ordered a table full of delicacies. Little Sun instantly turned into a foodie. He began to sweep through the food on the table. Lin Feng and the cursed doll chatted as they ate. Lin Feng asked. Those Dragon Knights and Blood-Robe Guards seemed to have extraordinary backgrounds. Lin Feng only heard about the origins of the Dragon Knights and the Blood-Robe Guards. The Dragon Knights came from the Myriad Dragon Island, while the Blood-Robe Guards came from the Blood-Robe Pavilion. However, Lin Feng didn't know what kind of forces these two forces were. The cursed doll said. The sea region between the South Sea and the West Sea is called the Sea God's Sea region, because the Sea God's ancient city was located in this sea region. The Sea God's Sea region is extremely large, and it is not smaller than the West Sea or the South Sea. Moreover, the Sea God's Sea region is the most dangerous sea region in the Undying Realm. Because the Sea God's Sea region is rich in resources, many powerful forces have been born here. The Myriad Dragon Island is one of them. They specialize in nurturing Dragon Knights, and when humans and dragons combine, their battle prowess will increase tremendously. The Blood-Robe Pavilion is also one of them. I've heard that they specialize in strange techniques that seem to be related to bloodlines, which is why they are called the Blood-Robe Pavilion. They are also a force that no one dares to provoke. The other three forces are the Lunar Sun Island, the Skyless Pavilion, and the Violet Cloud Grotto. They are also first-rate forces, and these overseas forces are even stronger than some of the top forces in the mainland. Apart from these 5 forces, there are many other forces. Although they can't compare to the 5 forces, they can't be underestimated either. Even the 5 forces don't dare to offend these forces. Lin Feng said. So you're saying that the Sea God's Sea region doesn't actually have an absolute ruler, but rather a place where heroes rule separately? The cursed doll nodded and said, That's right. This place is divided by heroes, so it's a bit chaotic. After a pause, the cursed doll continued, Because it's a bit chaotic, things like murder and robbery happen every day. As a result, another occupation was born, and that's pirates. There are also many pirates here. Many pirate forces can't be underestimated either. However, it's said that some of the top forces have formed pirate groups. These pirate groups are just like real pirates, and they burn, kill, and pillage to make a fortune. Lin Feng said. That's normal. After all, robbing is the fastest way to make a fortune. That cheat father-in-law of yours is also a pirate, right? The cursed doll asked. Lin Feng nodded with a wry smile. He naturally knew who the cursed doll was talking about. The cursed doll was talking about the heavenly wind god. Back in the day, he was the pirate king of the Tianwu continent. When Lin Feng saw Feng Yaorao, she had talked about her father with him. The heavenly wind god had been invited by Pirate King Arthur, one of the 9 great pirate kings of the Tianwu continent, to search for something. However, even Feng Yaorao didn't know what he was looking for. However, Feng Yaorao had a feeling that this thing was definitely extraordinary. Otherwise, her father wouldn't have kept it a secret from her. He didn't tell Feng Yaorao because he didn't trust her. Chapter 5201. The food here was not bad and had a lot of local specialties. It was rich in seafood, but not everyone could get used to eating seafood. Moreover, some people would be allergic to seafood. However, even if they couldn't eat seafood, they could still order other foods. Some of the delicacies on the continent could also be found here. After finishing the sumptuous meal, Lin Feng's group of 3 went to the All-Knowing Pavilion's office on Coiling Dragon Island. Lin Feng wanted to inquire about the ancient city in the deep sea. The All-Knowing Pavilion had the most powerful information network. Its offices could be found in every corner of the undying world. Lin Feng didn't know the origin of the All-Knowing Pavilion. However, the All-Knowing Pavilion's ability was indeed great. This was something that was very admirable. Not every force could reach the same level as the All-Knowing Pavilion. In the industry, they had a complete monopoly. The person who received Lin Feng's group was a beautiful woman. She looked to be in her 30s. Her face was very beautiful and charming. Her waist was very slender. When she walked, she swayed back and forth. There was an indescribable charm to her. Such a woman was naturally pleasing to men. However, Lin Feng was used to seeing all kinds of beauties. Therefore, although this woman was very beautiful, Lin Feng's eyes were still clear. The beautiful woman was slightly surprised. She didn't expect Lin Feng to turn a blind eye to her charm. After some introductions, Lin Feng found out that this woman was a deacon of the All-Knowing Pavilion on Coiling Dragon Island. Her name was He Xiao. She had been working in the All-Knowing Pavilion for many years. In the beginning, she was a maid of the All-Knowing Pavilion. However, she was serious in her work. After many years of sincerity, she slowly climbed from the bottom to her current position. Being a deacon of the All-Knowing Pavilion was naturally nothing in Lin Feng's eyes. However, in the eyes of countless cultivators, it was a position that was very enviable. Generally speaking, the people of the All-Knowing Pavilion wouldn't ask about the origin of their guests. However, the beautiful woman saw that Lin Feng was young, handsome, and had an extraordinary bearing. Therefore, she asked about Lin Feng's origin. Lin Feng told her that his name was Ji and didn't say anything else. The beautiful woman then asked, "Young master, what information do you want to know?" Lin Feng didn't beat around the bush with the beautiful woman. Instead, he went straight to the point and asked, "Does the All-Knowing Pavilion know anything about the ancient city of the Sea God?" Lin Feng asked. Ancient city of the Sea God. The beautiful woman was slightly startled and said, "Sir, do you know that the ancient city of the Sea God is a taboo in the Sea God's domain?" You can't casually mention it. Why? Lin Feng asked in confusion. That's because many large factions have been searching for the Sea God's city all these years. Apart from those large factions, anyone who dares to touch the Sea God's city will be killed by those large factions. Many people have already died because of this. Lin Feng naturally knew which forces the beautiful woman was referring to. It was none other than the 5 great forces. However, Lin Feng didn't think that these major powers would be so ruthless and overbearing. Opportunities between heaven and earth. Anyone who was fated could obtain it. This included the ancient city of the Sea God. As long as one was fated, one could naturally obtain these opportunities. No force could stop other forces or individuals from obtaining these opportunities. And yet, these large factions were doing just that. From this, one could see how overbearing they were. Lin Feng didn't care about the threats of the large factions in the Sea God's domain. He continued, "Fairy, please tell me everything you know about the ancient city of the Sea God." The beautiful woman giggled and said, "I'm not a fairy. You can call me Shower." Lin Feng smiled bitterly. Was this woman trying to seduce him? The beautiful woman continued, "If you want to know, I can naturally tell you. However, please remember that when you're outside, try not to discuss the ancient city of the Sea God as much as possible." "All right, I'll keep that in mind." Lin Feng nodded. The ancient city of the Sea God was an ancient city built when the Sea God ruled the Sea God's domain. It was once a holy land in the eyes of countless races and cultivators. It's said that the ancient city of the Sea God contained countless treasures, enough to make people go crazy. Originally, the ancient city of the Sea God's domain was floating in the sky, but because of a great battle, the Sea God fell, and the ancient city of the Sea God fell into the sea. It's said that the battle back then was extremely fierce. Countless people were affected by it, especially in the Sea God's sea. Almost all the groups were destroyed. The current groups only appeared after that battle. When cultivators from other places arrived, they wanted to find the ancient city of the Sea God, but they couldn't find it. Even though they couldn't find the ancient city of the Sea God, they were pretty sure that the ancient city of the Sea God is located in one of 3 seas. The first one is called the Star Moon Sea, the second one is called the 9 Saints Sea, and the third one is called the Mermaid Sea. The beautiful woman explained. Lin Feng asked curiously, "What's so special about these 3 seas? Why do you say that the ancient city of the Sea God is in one of these 3 seas?" The beautiful woman replied, "Because there are often weeping sounds coming from these 3 seas. Some people say that the weeping sounds are coming from the ancient city of the Sea God." Lin Feng frowned. He didn't know where this rumor had come from, but was it reliable? The cursed doll continued, "I'm sure that many factions have gone to the 3 seas to search for the ancient city of the Sea God. Have you found anything? The 3 seas are very dangerous, and many places are impossible to explore. That's why we haven't found the ancient city of the Sea God yet," the beautiful woman said. The cursed doll continued, "However, the other seas are also very dangerous, and there must be many places that are impossible to explore. We can't determine which of the 3 seas the ancient city of the Sea God is in just based on the weeping sounds, right? I think that it's quite possible that the ancient city of the Sea God is in the other seas." The beautiful woman said, "The weeping sounds aren't simple. They aren't just weeping sounds, there are also some strange noises mixed in." "Strange noises?" Lin Feng and the cursed old Wawa didn't understand. "That's right." The beautiful woman nodded and continued, "Some cultivators who understood the ancient language listened to the weeping sounds and deciphered the meaning of those strange noises." "What do they mean?" Lin Feng asked curiously. The beautiful woman replied, "The glory of the Sea God will once again descend upon the world." "That's—" Lin Feng's expression became uncertain. Were those people's interpretations correct? If their interpretation of the content was correct, then... Chapter 5202. After Lin Feng and the other 2 left the 100 Days Pavilion, they planned to find a place to stay. They found a few inns, but they were all full. It seemed that business was really good. Thus, they could only continue looking for a place to stay. At that moment, an earth-shattering commotion came from the depths of Coiling Dragon Island. Following that, a dozen cultivators soared into the sky and rushed out of Coiling Dragon Island. However, they did not manage to escape. Many blood-robed guards and dragon knights chased after them and fought with the cultivators. The blood-robed guards and dragon knights moved out at the same time. "Who are those besieged cultivators?" Some cultivators cried out in alarm. "I don't know." Under normal circumstances, the blood-robed guards and dragon knights would not join forces. Now that they have joined forces, it seems that those besieged cultivators are not simple people. A cultivator then said. The commotion in the depths of Coiling Dragon Island was very big, so many cultivators were alarmed. They all came out and looked at the battle in the depths. The cursed doll said, "I'm guessing that those people are fighting for benefits." Lin Feng rolled his eyes and said, "Damn, is there even a need to guess? People nowadays don't get up early if there are no benefits. If there are no benefits, who would participate in this?" The cursed doll said, "I'm a person who only cares about justice. I don't care about benefits. Brother, can you stop bragging?" Before Lin Feng could say anything, some of the cultivators around them spoke up and looked at the cursed doll with disdain. Because the cursed doll was awesome. The cursed doll was bragging a little too much. The cursed doll smiled and did not say anything else. The battle in the depths of Coiling Dragon Island was very intense. Some of the besieged cultivators were killed, while others were captured. In the end, only one person managed to escape. That was too tragic. They were almost wiped out. The blood-robed guards and dragon knights really live up to their reputation. They are one of the strongest forces in the sea god's domain. The strength they have displayed is really shocking. Many people started discussing spiritedly. Lin Feng could not help but frown slightly. One person had actually managed to escape. Since the blood-robed guards and dragon knights had come prepared, they should not have allowed anyone to escape. But now, however, one person managed to escape. There was something fishy about this matter. Could it be? Did the Bloodstrike guards and dragon knights let those people go on purpose? Lin Feng felt that there might be such a possibility. They purposely let that person go so that he could bring the news back. The power behind that person might send cultivators to rescue him. When the time comes. Then, there were the people who came to save them. Catch them all in one fell swoop. Damn, they're really scheming. Lin Feng thought to himself. However, Lin Feng reckoned that the other party had already guessed the intentions of the Bloodstrike guards and dragon knights. Lin Feng didn't know if the other party had sent people to rescue the captured cultivators. This matter had nothing to do with him. "Let's go," Lin Feng said. The cursed doll and little son nodded. Then, the three of them continued to look for a place to stay. Finally, the three of them found a place to stay. Furthermore, he had successfully rented a courtyard. Because they had spent a lot of time on the road, they were quite tired. Therefore, Lin Feng planned to rest on Coiling Dragon Island for a few days. After Lin Feng took a shower, he took little son to rest. The little guy liked to follow Lin Feng, so Lin Feng let him follow him for the time being. After washing up, little son went to bed. It was not very big. Little son fell asleep. Lin Feng was not in the mood to sleep. He stood outside the window and looked at the moon outside. His gaze was a little blurry, and no one knew what he was thinking. At this moment, Lin Feng seemed to have sensed something and looked behind him. Lin Feng immediately saw it. Balls of sunlight actually surged out from little son's dantian. The sunlight enveloped little son's entire body. This is? Lin Feng was shocked. Little son's body had actually undergone a mutation. Little son had been by Lin Feng's side for some time. However, this was the first time such a mutation had happened. When Lin Feng saw the changes in the little son, he was astonished. He could not help but feel very shocked. Lin Feng quickly walked in front of little son, and then he started to think. Previously, a sun had appeared in little son's body. That sun was very terrifying. It could be attacked. It could be defended. Its power was astonishing. However, Little Sun was really too young, so Little Sun could not freely control the sun that appeared in his body. In fact, Lin Feng was very curious about the sun that appeared in Little Sun's body. What exactly was that sun? Dharma treasure? Something that appeared from the bloodline? Or was it something that the ancient Sun Emperor had left behind for Little Sun? Lin Feng did not know what was going on. Lin Feng had tried to explore it, but there was an invisible force that blocked Lin Feng's exploration. Now, Little Sun's body had undergone a mutation. Could he explore it? Lin Feng took a deep breath and tried to penetrate into the Little Sun's body with his godly awareness. Previously, Lin Feng's spiritual will had been blocked and could not enter. But this time, Lin Feng's spiritual will had successfully entered Little Sun's body. This made Lin Feng slightly happy. Lin Feng's spiritual will arrived at Little Sun's dantian. When it entered Little Sun's dantian, Lin Feng's face immediately revealed an extremely shocked expression. Because Little Sun's dantian had actually formed a world of its own. What's going on? Lin Feng could not help but feel extremely puzzled. Generally speaking, a cultivator's dantian was slowly opened up. As the dantian was continuously opened up, it would also become larger and larger. Slowly, the dantian could even evolve into a space. It could even be a world. But this required time. For example, Lin Feng's cultivation was already quite good, but Lin Feng's dantian was still in the form of a vast ocean. It could not be considered a separate space or world. But how old was Little Sun? His dantian had already turned into an independent world. Lin Feng thought of a certain possibility. Could it be that the ancient Sun Emperor had helped Little Sun open up his dantian? Lin Feng guessed that the ancient Sun Emperor back then was very likely a Sage Realm cultivator. He had transcended immortals and entered the Sage Realm. Cultivators of this realm indeed had terrifying means that outsiders did not know of. Therefore, if the ancient Sun Emperor wanted to help Little Sun transform his dantian, with the ancient Sun Emperor's heaven-shaking ability, he could definitely do this. If it was not transformed by the ancient Sun Emperor, then it was very likely that he was born with it. If Little Sun's dantian was born with a world of its own. Chapter 5203. In this world, a sun hung above the 9 heavens, dazzling. Below, there were forests, lakes, rivers, deserts, plains, etc. Everything. It was all so beautiful. It was like an immortal country that people yearned for. After his divine sense sensed this world, Lin Feng's divine sense moved, and his original body entered this world. Lin Feng floated in the air. He looked at the sun above the 9 heavens. Lin Feng thought of the sun that appeared from the Little Sun's body. Was it related to the sun above the 9 heavens? Perhaps. He could go into the sun to explore. Of course. Lin Feng knew. That was definitely not the real sun. Lin Feng did not know what the sun body was for the time being. South Lin Feng did not stop, and directly soared into the sky, quickly flying towards the sun. But Lin Feng found that when he flew towards the sun was flying quickly into the distance. The sun did not seem to want Lin Feng to get close. Damn, don't run, let's talk! Lin Feng shouted loudly. But the sun did not stop. Do you have a problem with me? Lin Feng asked loudly. The sun did not pay attention to Lin Feng. Instead, it continued to fly in front, trying to get rid of Lin Feng. The sun was very fast. If it was anyone else, they would have definitely been shaken off by the sun. But because Lin Feng's speed was too fast, it was very difficult for the sun to get rid of Lin Feng. But it was also very difficult for Lin Feng to catch up to the sun. Lin Feng could not help but think of the legendary Kwa Fu chasing the sun. Why did he look like Kwa Fu chasing the sun now? He did not want to become the legendary Kwa Fu. Because the legendary Kwa Fu was a tragic man. Who wanted to be a tragic man? Lin Feng increased his speed. But the sun was also accelerating. Both sides, one running and one chasing, were about the same distance. Lin Feng felt that it was not a good idea to continue chasing like this. Thus, he summoned his stone golem clone and the two evil god stone statues. This was because Lin Feng discovered that the sun had been circling this world. He had no choice but to beat around the bush, even though the small sun Dantian had already formed a small world. However, after all, the area of a small world was limited. It was not boundless. Therefore, he had to go in circles in the small world. Without going in circles, they would soon reach the end of the world. When the time comes, he was about to be blocked by Lin Feng. Lin Feng had his stone golem avatar, and the two evil god statues surround the sun in the sky from another direction. Perhaps he could block it. Lin Feng continued to chase after the sun. After circling the area, Lin Feng saw the stone golem avatar and the evil god statue. The sun had clearly discovered the stone man's avatar and the evil god statue. Thus, the sun wanted to change direction and fly in another direction. But at this moment, the stone golem avatar and the two evil god statues separated and formed an encirclement with Lin Feng. They surrounded the sun. The sun could only force its way through. It seemed to have intelligence, and locked onto one of the evil god statues. This was because among Lin Feng, the stone golem avatar, and the two evil god statues, the two evil god statues were the weakest. Of course, the weakest here was only relative. After all, the two evil god statues both had the strength of a true immortal. The sun fiercely collided with one of the evil god statues, but the sun clearly underestimated the strength of the evil god statues. The evil god statues attacked with all their might. They blocked the sun that collided with them. Lin Feng, the other evil god statue, and the stone golem avatar quickly flew over. Lin Feng didn't attack the sun. Instead, he said, "I don't have any evil intentions towards you. I'm just curious as to what caused the changes in the little sun's body." At this moment, a voice resounded in Lin Feng's mind. "Companion Sunday." This voice was very young, and there were only 4 words, but they shocked Lin Feng. Concomitant refers to something that appears along with birth. In other words, it was innately born. For example, bloodline. It was something that was born with. Originally, Lin Feng thought that the little sun was a supreme treasure left behind by the ancient Sun Emperor. Or perhaps it was an ability that the little sun's bloodline had manifested. Or perhaps it was a special item that the ancient Sun Emperor had left behind for the little sun. But only now did he realize that his previous guess was wrong. It turned out that this was something that accompanied the little sun's birth. "What are you?" Lin Feng asked. "I am the rising sun." That very young voice resounded in Lin Feng's mind again. "The rising sun? Could it be that the sun is still young?" Lin Feng asked in surprise. "You can understand it that way." The voice continued. "Isn't the sun formed by the golden crow?" Lin Feng asked curiously. "That is indeed the case in the myths and legends, but in reality, the sun formed by the golden crow is just a fake sun. It is not the real sun. Although the sun formed by the golden crow with great magical powers is enough to pass off as the real one, a fake is a fake. How can it be compared to the real sun?" the voice said. Lin Feng thought about it, and felt that it made sense. No matter how powerful the golden crow was, the sun formed by the golden crow was also a fake. No matter how similar the outer appearance was, but in essence, they were different. "Isn't there only one sun in the world?" Lin Feng asked. "There is indeed only one sun, but when the era is destroyed, a new sun will be born. The new sun will become the sun of the next era," the voice said. Hearing this, Lin Feng was shocked. If that was really the case, didn't that mean that the sun born from the little sun would become the sun of the next era? What kind of existence was the little sun? "Are you saying that you will become the sun of the next era?" Lin Feng asked. "Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure," the voice said. "I'm not sure. Why do you say that? Didn't you say that the new sun will become the sun of the next era?" Lin Feng asked doubtfully. "There isn't just one new sun. Perhaps there are many, but in the end, only one will survive. The rest will be destroyed." Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. He hadn't expected things to turn out this way. Lin Feng asked, "Where are the other new sons? Are they also in the bodies of cultivators?" Chapter 5204. Lin Feng asked, "Since you're inside little son's body, will you harm him in any way?" The voice replied, "Of course not. I'm now his companion, and I can help him many times. We'll grow together, and in the future, I'll leave his body when I fight for the right to live with the other sons." Lin Feng nodded and said, "All right, I hope you remember what you said and don't harm little Sunday." Lin Feng then put away the 2 statues and the stone golem clone. He didn't stay in the world inside little son's dantian. Lin Feng went outside. Little son was sleeping soundly. Perhaps this little guy didn't even know that a real son had been born inside his body. The next day, someone came to visit Lin Feng. To Lin Feng's surprise, it was the all-knowing pavilion's deacon, He Xiao. Lin Feng hadn't interacted much with this beautiful woman. "I wonder what this beautiful woman is doing here." He Xiao bowed to Lin Feng and said, "Young Master Ji, please forgive me for coming here so abruptly." Lin Feng said, "It's my honor to have you here. Outside isn't a good place to talk, so please come inside." He Xiao followed Lin Feng into the guest hall, and both of them took their seats. Lin Feng then said, "I didn't expect you to come here so suddenly. I apologize for my lack of preparation." He Xiao said, "Young master, you don't have to be so polite. I came here because I have something to tell you." "Oh? What is it?" Lin Feng asked in surprise. He Xiao said, "Last night someone came to the all-knowing pavilion to sell a piece of information." "What information?" Lin Feng asked, puzzled. "It's about the ancient city in the deep sea," He Xiao said. When he heard that, Lin Feng was shocked. Then, he was overjoyed. Although Lin Feng had heard some information about the ancient city, the 3 seas were filled with danger, and there were many places that were extremely dangerous. It was still extremely difficult to find the location of the ancient deep sea city. Now, if he could get some information about the ancient city in the deep sea, presumably, it would be of great help in finding the ancient city in the deep sea. "I wonder what this news is about?" Lin Feng asked. He Xiao replied, "Someone saw a projection of a world in the Mermaid Sea. Within that world, there was a massive ancient city with the words Deep Sea Ancient City written on the city walls." "What? There's such a thing?" Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked. If that was the case, didn't that mean that the ancient city in the deep sea was most likely in the Mermaid Sea? The Mermaid Sea region was a part of the Sea God Sea region. It was located in the southeast region of the Sea God Sea region. Cultivators didn't dare to set foot in this sea area. Of course. Due to the abundance of extremely precious resources in the Mermaid Sea, there were still some cultivators who took the risk to enter the Mermaid Sea. Besides, the tears of the merfolk were extremely precious. Thus, some daring cultivators even dared to capture the merfolk and think of ways to make them cry. They collected the tears and sold them. The tears of the merfolk were the tears of the merfolk women, not the tears of the merfolk men. The tears of the merfolk women were rare treasures. Many top-grade immortal pills required the tears of the merfolk women. However, the tears of the merfolk men were extremely poisonous and couldn't be touched. "Did that person obtain anything?" Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. "I'm not too sure," He Xiao replied. "Did he leave Coiling Dragon Island?" Lin Feng asked. "He didn't leave. After that person sold the information to us, he exchanged it for a large amount of immortal stones. Then, he went to the fairy brothel to seek pleasure. It's said that he singled out more than 20 beauties," He Xiao said. Lin Feng said, "Thank you for telling me this, fairy." Lin Feng waved his hand, and 2 rivers of immortal stones flew out. Each river was made up of 1,000,000 immortal stones. Lin Feng said, 1,000,000 of them is for buying the information from the all-knowing pavilion, and the other is for fairy's hard work." He Xiao only accepted the 1,000,000. She said, "I'll accept the 1,000,000 from the all-knowing pavilion, but I can't accept the one from young master. We're friends, so it's only natural for me to tell young master this information as soon as possible. He Xiao clearly wanted to deepen her relationship with Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled and didn't refute He Xiao's claim that they were friends. Lin Feng put the immortal stones away. Lin Feng said. He then said, I'll go and see that person now. Fairy, can you help me identify him? Don't worry, you don't have to show yourself when the time comes. You can just tell me his identity in secret. Of course. He Xiao smiled. The cursed doll was cultivating, and the small son's body was still mutating, so Lin Feng didn't disturb them. Lin Feng and He Xiao left the residence together. Then, they went straight to the fairy brothel. The fairy brothel was one of the most famous brothels on Coiling Dragon Island. It was also one of the most high-end brothels. Here, one could find charming fox girls, sexy and enchanting snake girls, pure and shy clam girls, and so on. There were many beauties here. As long as you had money, you could choose whatever you wanted. Lin Feng and He Xiao had just arrived when they heard a scream coming from the third floor. Someone's dead! Someone's dead! Someone's been killed! After the scream, a group of women with disheveled clothes and pale faces hurriedly ran out. Pooh! 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 But at that moment, sword chi vibrated out. It directly pierced through the women's bodies. Those women all died tragically. What a good way to silence people. Not only were the guests inside killed, even the women who served this person were killed. This kind of method was really ruthless. Lin Feng felt that something was wrong, so he quickly flew to the room where the dead people were. He Xiao followed closely behind. Lin Feng entered the room and found a cultivator lying in the room. His head had been chopped off. Many people were pointing at him in the room. It's him, He Xiao said. He Xiao said. We're too late. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. More and more people arrived. Even the boss of the fairy brothel came out. After all, more than 20 women had died in the fairy brothel, and they had all been carefully nurtured. This time, the fairy brothel had suffered a great loss. He left with He Xiao. Who could it be that wants to kill him? He Xiao was puzzled. This person must have obtained something about the ancient deep-sea city from that place, which is why he was killed, Lin Feng said. But earlier he said that he only sold the information to our all-knowing pavilion, and that no one else knew about it. Could it be that the other overseers and elders of the all-knowing pavilion sold the information to someone else, and that person immediately came to kill that person and took away his items? Chapter 5205. The possibility of what He Xiao had said was very high. Lin Feng asked, How many people from the all-seeing pavilion know about this? He Xiao smiled bitterly and said, About 20. Lin Feng sighed. With so many people, it was very difficult to find out who had sold the information. Even if they could find out, it would be impossible to find all the people who had bought the information. Who knew where the other party had run off to? Lin Feng felt that it was a pity. He could have obtained something related to the ancient city in the deep sea. But now, it had been taken by someone else. However, this was how things worked in the world. How could everything go according to plan? Therefore, Lin Feng was more open-minded and quickly adjusted his emotions. Lin Feng said, Thank you for accompanying me. I'm sure you have many things to take care of, so I won't disturb you any further. He Xiao said, I'm resting today, so there's nothing else. Hearing He Xiao's words, Lin Feng felt that it would be inappropriate for him to leave now. After all, He Xiao had already said that there was nothing else. Lin Feng naturally couldn't leave He Xiao behind and leave by himself. He Xiao continued, Sir, are you going to the Mermaid Sea next? I'm planning to. I'll probably set off after resting on Coiling Dragon Island for a few days, Lin Feng said. That's fine too. He Xiao nodded and said, However, there are some things you need to prepare before heading to the Mermaid Sea. Prepare what? Lin Feng asked in surprise. You need to prepare a special insect-repellent grass because the Mermaid Sea isn't a simple place. It has one of the most terrifying groups of insects in the sea. Those poisonous insects are called golden-shelled insects, and they cover the sky and cover the earth. Cultivators who encounter them will almost certainly die. The special insect repellent grass I'm talking about is especially effective against golden-shelled insects. If you carry it with you, the golden-shelled insects won't easily approach you. He Xiao explained. Golden-shelled insects? Lin Feng was surprised. This was the first time he had heard of such a poisonous insect. However, there were many poisonous insects in the world. Of course, Lin Feng didn't know all the poisonous insects. Lin Feng asked, "Is there anything special about golden-shelled insects?" He Xiao said, "The most special thing about golden-shelled insects is that their venom is very special. Depending on the type of insect, the venom will cause different damage to the body. Most of the venom will harm the internal organs of cultivators, causing them to quickly necrotize due to the corrosion of the venom. There is also a part of the venom that is very harmful to the blood. These two types of venom account for more than 95% of the venom. The venom of a golden-shelled insect doesn't belong to those two types of venom. The venom of a golden-shelled insect is an extremely rare type of venom. This kind of venom can directly harm a cultivator's soul. Once a cultivator's soul is poisoned, they won't be able to think, and they won't be able to issue any orders to their body. When the time comes, they won't even have the chance to resist. They'll quickly die." "I see." Lin Feng couldn't help but nod. He had a better understanding of all kinds of venoms. Poison that could harm one's soul. It was indeed an extremely rare type of venom. Lin Feng then asked, "Fairy, what is the insect repellent grass you're talking about called?" He Xiao said, "That insect repellent grass is called stink grass because it emits an extremely unpleasant stench. However, stink grass is extremely rare, so it's very difficult to buy it. Usually, even if there really is a resource like stink grass, the seller won't easily sell it to strangers. Basically, they only sell it to regular customers." Lin Feng asked, "Fairy, can you get your hands on it? We'll have to go and take a look because I don't know if that place still has stink grass, but I'll do my best to help you get some," He Xiao said. "All right," Lin Feng said. "All right, let's go take a look." He Xiao nodded and led Lin Feng to the place where stink grass was sold. On Coiling Dragon Island, there was only one merchant that sold stink grass. It was the Coiling Dragon Merchant Association. The power behind the Coiling Dragon Merchant Association was the Long family. The Long family was the governor's family on Coiling Dragon Island. It was said that they also had the bloodline of the dragon race, and they were a powerful power with a long history. When they arrived at the Coiling Dragon Merchant Association, a maidservant welcomed them and bowed to Lin Feng and He Xiao. He Xiao said, "I'd like to see your vice president." The maidservant obviously knew He Xiao. She quickly replied, "Yes." First, she led Lin Feng and He Xiao to a guest hall to wait. Then, she went to look for the vice president. A maidservant served Lin Feng and He Xiao tea. Not long after, a rather young female cultivator arrived. This female cultivator was rather tall, about 1.8 meters tall. Moreover, she wasn't a bony beauty. Instead, she was a rather voluptuous woman. Caucasian. When Lin Feng saw that woman, he thought, "What a beautiful woman!" This woman was indeed a Caucasian beauty. Her figure was voluptuous and sexy, and her face was beautiful. However, her height gave people a heavy feeling of oppression. Ordinary men wouldn't be able to subdue such a woman. Clearly, this woman was the vice president of the Coiling Dragon Merchant Association. She wasn't very old, but to be able to become the vice president of the Coiling Dragon Merchant Association meant that she had a very deep background. Lin Feng guessed that this woman was from the Long family. "What brings you here, big sister?" the woman said with a smile. It seemed that she was rather familiar with He Xiao. Otherwise, she wouldn't have used the word big sister to describe He Xiao. As the deacon of the all-knowing pavilion, He Xiao had a lot of important information. Therefore, she was indeed quite popular. Everyone had to give her face. He Xiao smiled and said, "I missed you, so I came to see you." The woman smiled and said, "Thank you for your concern, big sister. I've been quite busy recently and haven't had much time to rest. Otherwise, I would have gone to the all-knowing pavilion to find you. We sisters haven't met in a long time. When you have time, we can meet any time, anywhere." He Xiao smiled and said. The woman glanced at Lin Feng and said with a smile, "Big sister, why did you bring such a young and handsome gentleman here? Could this young master be big sister's lover?" Hearing this, He Xiao secretly glanced at Lin Feng and blushed slightly. Cough, cough. Lin Feng coughed dryly and said, "This one is called Ji. I'm He Xiao's friend." "Friend? Are you really just friends?" Chapter 5206. "We're really just friends," He Xiao said. Of course, she was telling the truth. However, in the woman's ears, it sounded like it could be covered up. The reason why the woman suspected Lin Feng and He Xiao was not without reason. Because He Xiao had always been clean all these years. With her conditions. There were naturally countless suitors, but He Xiao had never agreed to anyone's pursuit. So, he had always been alone. Now, suddenly bringing a young and handsome young master like Lin Feng. If the two of them did not have a close relationship, the woman would not believe it. So now, no matter what He Xiao said, from the woman's point of view, the more she tried to explain, the worse it would get. The woman smiled and said, All right. I believe that you two are pure." Although she said that she believed it, however, the expression on her face clearly showed that she did not believe it. Lin Feng could only laugh bitterly in his heart. Others had already made the first impression. It was not easy to change other people's minds, so Lin Feng did not explain any further. Sometimes, an explanation was a cover-up. Especially, when the other party had already guessed the reason, no matter how he explained, the other party would probably not believe him anymore. Lin Feng looked at He Xiao and said, "Fairy He, I have yet to introduce this beautiful woman in front of me. How should I address her?" He Xiao smiled and said, "This little sister is not a simple person. She is a direct descendant of the island master's family. Her name is Long Yuetong, and she is currently the first vice president of the Coiling Dragon Chamber of Commerce. Generally speaking, a large chamber of commerce would have a president and several vice presidents. The difference in power between these vice presidents was huge. The position of the first vice president was naturally the highest. Lin Feng already knew that Long Yuetong was the vice president of the Coiling Dragon Chamber of Commerce. Now that He Xiao had emphasized Long Yuetong's identity as the first vice president, it was obvious that she was reminding Lin Feng of how extraordinary Long Yuetong's identity was. Lin Feng only smiled at this. In the eyes of countless people, the identity of the first vice president of the Coiling Dragon Chamber of Commerce was naturally high and mighty. Countless people would want to curry favor with him. But in Lin Feng's eyes, not to mention a mere vice president, even the power behind the Coiling Dragon Chamber of Commerce, the Long family, in Lin Feng's eyes, was nothing. Long Yuetong smiled and said, "Everyone, please take a seat. Don't be courteous and treat this as your own home." Both parties sat down. He Xiao smiled as she replied, "Apart from visiting my little sister, there's also something else." "Sister, feel free to speak," Long Yuetong said with a smile. He Xiao and Long Yuetong were closer. Therefore, he did not beat around the bush. Instead, he directly said, "I need some stink grass." "Do you have any more of it here?" Long Yuetong said. "Sister, you came at a bad time. The last few stalks of stink grass were bought by someone 3 months ago. When will the new stink grass arrive?" He Xiao asked. "We'll probably have to wait for another week or so," Long Yuetong said. The stinky grass was a rare commodity, and only the Long family knew where it was. Furthermore, although the Long family knew where the stink grass was, because that place was incomparably dangerous, picking the stink grass was an extremely dangerous thing to do. Therefore, the amount of stink grass harvested each time was very little. Sometimes, he would enter the danger zone several times to pick the stink grass, but he would not gain anything. However, this time, Long Yuetong said that the stink grass would arrive in about a week. It seemed that the Long family had successfully picked the stink grass this time. Young master, can we wait for a week? He Xiao looked at Lin Feng. Since the stink grass was extremely important, waiting for a week was naturally not a problem. Lin Feng said. No problem. He Xiao nodded, looked at Long Yuetong and said, Little sister, although there are definitely many people who want the stink grass, little sister will definitely leave some for young Master Ji. Of course, elder sister can rest assured on this point, Long Yuetong said with a smile. Both sides chatted for a while. As Long Yuetong still had many things to take care of, Lin Feng and He Xiao bid farewell and left. Connections are really important. It's easier to do things with people, Lin Feng said with a smile. He Xiao was clearly in a good mood. She said, Yes, connections are really important now. Although Long Yuetong is of noble birth, her personality is extremely good. Since she said that she would leave some stink grass for young master, she will definitely do so. If you don't have the stink grass, you definitely can't go to the Mermaid Sea. Many people don't know what to pay attention to when going to the Mermaid Sea. Of course, some people know that you need to bring the stink grass to the Mermaid Sea, but they can't buy it. Lin Feng said, It was all thanks to your help that we were able to obtain the stink grass this time. In the future, if you have any problems, you must come and find me. As long as I can help, I definitely won't refuse. He Xiao said, All right, when the time comes, I won't be courteous with you. Lin Feng said, I'm not a cultivator from the Mermaid Sea. I'm just passing by, so if you want to find me in the future, you'll have to go to Sin City to find me. He Xiao was slightly stunned. Then, he felt relieved. Actually, He Xiao did not investigate Lin Feng's true identity, but Lin Feng was a human cultivator. Right now, the stronger human cultivators were basically all in the Sin domain. So, Lin Feng was also a Sin domain cultivator. Naturally, this was an extremely normal thing. He Xiao said, It's still early. Does young master have anything else to do? I don't have anything else, Lin Feng said. Why don't you follow me to a place? He Xiao said. Sure. Lin Feng nodded. He Xiao brought Lin Feng to a mountain peak in the northwest of Coiling Dragon Island. This mountain peak was called the Sea God Mountain. On top of the Sea God Mountain, there was a huge temple called the Sea God Temple. It was a place to worship the Sea God. There were quite a few people who came here to pray. This time, He Xiao was also here to pray. The Sea God has already been dead for countless years. Are there still so many people who believe in him? Lin Feng said in surprise. Yes, even if the Sea God is dead, no one will forget the Sea God. The Sea God is a supreme existence in the hearts of countless cultivators in the sea, He Xiao said. Lin Feng nodded. Everyone. They all had their own beliefs. He Xiao believed in the Sea God. Just like those people in the secular world who believed in themselves. Faith was a kind of reliance in many people's hearts when they encountered difficulties or setbacks. Chapter 5207. The Sea God Temple was huge. The main hall was dedicated to the Sea God. In many of the side halls, other gods were worshipped. For example, one of the halls was dedicated to the West Sea Dragon King, while another hall was dedicated to the South Sea Dragon King. These two Dragon Kings were the first Dragon Kings of the era of titled gods. However, they were not the current Dragon Kings. The Dragon King of the West Sea and the Dragon King of the South Sea were no longer titled gods. Compared to the Dragon Kings of the West Sea and South Sea during the era of titled gods, they were worlds apart. He Xiao entered the Sea God Temple to offer incense. Lin Feng thought for a moment, then followed He Xiao to offer incense. He Xiao asked in surprise, Do you believe in the Sea God? Lin Feng shook his head and said, Of course not. However, I'm about to head to the Mermaid Islands to find the Sea God's ancient city, so I have to pray to the Sea God. I hope that the Sea God will bless me and help me find the ancient city. He Xiao chuckled and said, A sincere heart will naturally work. I believe that you will definitely be able to find the ancient city. The two of them prayed to the sea god. After offering incense to the sea god, they walked down the mountain. In the evening, the two of them found a place to have a meal. They spent the day together with Yixiao. Lin Feng felt that Yixiao was quite a nice person. She was considerate and gentle, had a voluptuous and sexy figure, and was also very beautiful. By the time they finished eating, it was already late in the evening. Coiling Dragon Island was still very lively. Even at night, there were still people coming and going. Where do you live, goddess? I'll send you back. Lin Feng asked. I live near the all-knowing pavilion, Yixiao replied. The all-knowing pavilion also provided lodging. However, for someone of Yixiao's status, there was no need for her to live in the pavilion's dormitory. This was because there were many people living in the pavilion's dormitory. As a deacon, Yixiao could have her own room, but there were too many people in the dormitory. There were also many things to do. Thus, Yixiao moved out and rented a courtyard not far from the all-knowing pavilion. The environment was not bad, and it was relatively quiet. It was many times better than living in the dormitory. Lin Feng and Yixiao chatted as they walked towards Yixiao's residence. Not long after, they arrived at Yixiao's residence. Do you want to go in and have some tea? I also have some rare spirit teas that you might like, Yixiao said with a red face. It was late at night. A sexy and hot beauty invited him to her house for tea. Such a request. If it was any other man, they probably wouldn't refuse, right? There was a saying, don't let down the beauty and youth of a beautiful woman. What was youth? It meant that he was in the prime of his life, putting the beauty and youth together. Moreover, the beauty was still in front of Fang Hua. Clearly, a beautiful woman was so important. There was an invitation from a beauty. How could he refuse? Therefore, Lin Feng nodded and agreed. When Yixiao saw that Lin Feng had agreed, she smiled. Lin Feng followed Yixiao into the courtyard. The courtyard wasn't particularly big, but it was very clean. There were rockery and strange rocks scattered around. There were also 2 ponds on both sides of the living room. Lotus flowers were planted in the ponds. Now that the lotus flowers were in full bloom, it was magnificent. In the pool, at the same time, there were many fish. Basically, they were all fish with higher ornamental value. Walking around the hall was the backyard. The backyard was where Yixiao rested. Lin Feng followed Yixiao to the backyard. In the courtyard where Yixiao lived, there were stone tables, stone stools, and a crooked tree. In the past, Lin Feng had heard that in the secular world, a dynasty had been destroyed. The last emperor of that dynasty had hung himself on a crooked tree, and then his life had ended. Lin Feng wondered if that tree was similar to the one Lin Feng was looking at. Lin Feng did not enter He Dao's room. A woman's room was a woman's secret. Lin Feng naturally would not casually enter it. However, Lin Feng felt that, if he entered, Yixiao might not refuse. Lin Feng sat on the stone bench. Yixiao took out the stove, the tea set, and then boiled the spirit spring water. Top-grade spirit tea. It needed to be soaked in spirit spring water. Or else, it would destroy the taste of the spirit tea. Today's moon is really round, Lin Feng said. Today is the 15th of August, Yixiao said. Lin Feng softly recited. Alone in a foreign land, I miss my family more on every festive day. Knowing that my brothers have climbed to a high place, I have planted dogwood everywhere. The meaning of this poem was that it was inevitable that it would be a little desolate to be alone and far away from home. Every time it was the double ninth festival, he would miss his distant relatives. Thinking of my brothers wearing dogwood and climbing to a high place, I would feel regretful because I was missing. This poem expressed some of the truest thoughts in Lin Feng's heart. All these years, it really wasn't easy outside. However, Lin Feng had to persevere. When Yixiao heard Lin Feng's poem, she was actually infatuated. She said, Young master is really talented. It can't be considered a good literary talent. I've only read a few books and can write some unrefined things. Yixiao said, Young master is too modest. Then she continued, This year's full moon night is different from previous years, because this year, young master has a beautiful woman by his side. The beautiful woman that He Xiao was talking about was naturally herself. She wasn't modest at all. However, there didn't seem to be a need to be modest with He Xiao's appearance, because He Xiao was indeed of the highest quality. Even though Lin Feng had come into contact with many outstanding women, he couldn't help but feel that He Xiao was a very likable woman. Lin Feng laughed and said, "Yes, to be able to have a fairy accompany me, it is indeed a different full moon night. I believe I will always remember it in my heart." When He Xiao heard Lin Feng's words, she was extremely happy. She said, "The bright moon is so moving, why don't young master use the bright moon to write a poem?" Lin Feng thought for a moment, then recited, "The bright moonlight in the courtyard is suspected of being frost on the ground. Looking up at the bright moon, looking down at the lady." After hearing Lin Feng's crooked poem, He Xiao couldn't help but laugh. However, thinking about it carefully, this poem seemed to have the intention of teasing her. Could it be? Young Master Ji to himself. Did he have a good impression of him? Thinking of this, He Xiao was immediately overjoyed. Young Master sometimes acts like a gentleman, but sometimes he acts like a scoundrel, He Xiao said. Lin Feng leaned on her and said, "This is me, living a carefree life, never restraining my heart." He Xiao looked at Lin Feng in a daze. Lin Feng was indeed such a person full of mystery. She was attracted to him. Was it also because... Chapter 5208. After leaving He Xiao's place, Lin Feng walked alone on the street. Lin Feng felt that if he didn't leave, he might be able to sleep with He Xiao in his arms tonight. However, who told Lin Feng to be a decent person? Therefore, Lin Feng estimated that it was about time and took the initiative to leave. There were still many cultivators on the street. At night, there were also many people setting up street stalls. Lin Feng even saw some beggars. These beggars didn't want the gold and silver of the secular world. What they wanted was immortal stones. These beggars were also keeping up with the times. In fact, there were many beggars in the world of cultivators. These people, they were usually the lazy kind of cultivators. Therefore, they were unwilling to go out to find a living. In fact, some beggars had quite good cultivation. If they went out to find some treasures to sell, they would probably be able to live quite comfortably. It was just that those people would rather sleep. They weren't willing to use their own hands to create a good life. Lin Feng walked on the street, thinking about the various things he had experienced over the years and the many people who appeared in his life, including his enemies, friends, women, and so on. He couldn't help but feel a little emotional. Perhaps the future path would be more difficult. But so what? Lin Feng believed that with his own means, he would definitely be able to climb to the peak. Perhaps he would be able to find his father in the future. Then he would fight side by side with his father. Lin Feng was looking forward to this scene. Father and son fighting side by side, together with all the cultivators in the world, against the doomsday battle. Perhaps they could successfully resist the doomsday battle, right? Back at his residence, the cursed doll was still in seclusion. The little sun was still mutating. The sunlight enveloped his body. The sunlight was getting hotter and hotter. Lin Feng couldn't help but think of the 5 powerhouses besieging the little sun. Could it be that 5 powerhouses? Actually, did they know that there was a rising sun in the little sun's body? Perhaps there was such a possibility. How important was the rising sun? If he could get it, that would be awesome. The little sun was still young and couldn't protect the rising sun. This was a great opportunity to snatch the rising sun. If he missed this opportunity, when the time comes, he was afraid that he would never have another chance. Therefore, in order to snatch the rising sun from the little sun's body, these people would resort to any means necessary. The cursed doll came out of seclusion the next day. According to this fellow, he had an epiphany while he was sleeping. Then, the cursed doll kept bragging about how heaven-defying its talent was. Lin Feng's ears were about to grow calluses. Lin Feng pulled the cursed doll into his room. After seeing little sun being enveloped by the sunlight, the cursed doll asked in confusion, "What's going on?" Lin Feng said, "The little sun has a companion sun in its body. Now that its body is mutating, perhaps it's because its body is adapting to the power of that rising sun." After hearing Lin Feng's words, the cursed doll's mouth couldn't help but twitch violently. Previously, it was still bragging about how great its talent was, but now that it knew about Little Sun's situation, it was instantly envious and jealous. Although the cursed doll's talent was strong, compared to Little Sun, there was still a big gap. Little Sun's talent was something that even Lin Feng was amazed by. After all, there was a companion sun in Little Sun's body. This was an opportunity that couldn't be envied. "This kid's ancestor has accumulated good karma," the cursed doll said. Lin Feng said, "You don't say. Little Sun's ancestor has really accumulated good karma, because I've heard some things about the ancient Sun Emperor. It's said that that era was very turbulent and chaotic. It was one of the dark and turbulent eras. After the ancient Sun Emperor rose to power, he fought bloody battles in the universe and suppressed the turmoil at that time." The cursed doll nodded and said, "There is indeed such a thing. That's why I say that this kid is very lucky to have a good father. I can't be envious of him," Lin Feng said. "Although this is a world where one's father is important, the times create heroes. Even if one doesn't rely on one's father, there are still many people who can rise up." Little Sun woke up 2 days later. When he woke up, he seemed a little tired, and his stomach kept growling. When he opened his eyes and saw Lin Feng, the first thing he said was, "Brother, I'm hungry." Then, Lin Feng ordered a full Manchu Han imperial feast for Little Sunday. There were 172 dishes, but Little Sun finished them like a whirlwind. "Damn, are you a pig? Are you the reincarnation of a pig demon?" the cursed doll immediately shouted. Lin Feng slapped the cursed doll away, then scolded, "You really can't say anything good from your filthy mouth. Am I wrong? How old is this child? How can he eat so much?" the cursed doll said with a pout. Little Sun had indeed eaten too much. However, Lin Feng reckoned that it had something to do with the previous mutation. After all, that mutation, it consumed a lot of energy. After the mutation ended, one's body would be very tired. Now, Little Sun needed to replenish a lot of energy. "I'm not a pig," Little Sun said angrily, obviously extremely dissatisfied with the cursed doll saying that he was the reincarnation of a pig demon. Little Sun then looked at Lin Feng. Then, he rubbed his stomach and said, "Brother, I'm still hungry." Lin Feng looked at the cursed doll and said, "Go to the front and order another Manchu Han imperial feast." The cursed doll said, "All right, I'll go now." Little Sun was really high today. He ordered a total of 3 meals. This little guy was just full. After he finished eating, he even burped. Then, the little guy became sleepy again. If this child was placed in an ordinary family, wouldn't his family be poor? It's said that the poor can't raise more children. How much does it cost to raise a child? I really can't afford to raise it. The cursed doll couldn't help but sigh. However, what the cursed doll said made sense. Raising a child was really too expensive. Many families probably couldn't afford to raise more than a few children. In the next few days, Lin Feng also went into seclusion to comprehend some powerful sacred art. Time passed very quickly. In the blink of an eye, a week had passed. He Xiao once again came to Lin Feng's place. After not seeing He Xiao for a week, he was still stunned when he saw her again. He Xiao was like a ripe peach. Her beauty. It was a mature and charming beauty that flowed out from her bones. This kind of beauty was full of temptation. Chapter 5209. Isn't this the fairy from the all-knowing pavilion? What brings you here? The cursed doll said with a smile when it saw He Xiao. The last time He Xiao had come, he had been in seclusion. Therefore, he did not know that He Xiao had come to find Lin Feng. Lin Feng did not discuss this matter with the cursed doll either. Said Lin Feng, Shut up, you little bastard! Then, Lin Feng sent the cursed doll flying with a slap. He then looked at He Xiao and said, Fairy, please come in. The cursed doll was speechless. Little Feng, you're so inhumane. I misjudged you, said Lin Feng. You're too talkative. Go away and stay where you are. I'm not going. I want to see what you two are up to. Don't tell me you've been together for a long time? Should little son and I move out? We don't want to disturb you two. The cursed doll entered the hall. He Xiao blushed slightly and said, Young Master Ji and I are just friends. It's not what you're saying. Lin Feng looked at the cursed doll speechlessly and said, Did you hear that? Don't talk nonsense. I'm fine with this, but it'll affect Fairy He's reputation. You should know that rumors are fiercer than tigers. I don't think I need to say more, right? The cursed doll smiled and said, I think the two of you are quite compatible. Why don't you be together? When she heard this, He Xiao sneaked a glance at Lin Feng, and her face turned even redder. The cursed doll looked at He Xiao and said, My big brother's ancestor is very awesome, and he's very capable. His only flaw is that he likes beautiful women, so he likes to flirt. If you don't mind this, you can really follow my big brother. Lin Feng suddenly had the urge to hammer the cursed doll to death. Was the cursed doll exposing his past? What he did was not flirting. It was called universal love, okay? He Xiao said. For an outstanding man like young Master Ji, it's only right for him to have a few more women to serve him. The cursed doll rolled its eyes when it heard He Xiao's words. Then, he looked at Lin Feng and said, Damn, you really found a treasure, didn't you? Lin Feng couldn't help but smile bitterly. Could it be that He Xiao's courage had grown after that night? She had failed? He was hinting at her by saying something overtly and covertly. The man was too outstanding. Sometimes it was a mistake. Lin Feng did not dwell on the topic. With the cursed doll around, it was best not to talk about it. Lin Feng asked, Fairy, are you here to retrieve the stink grass? He Xiao nodded and said, That's right. Not long ago, Sister Yutong sent someone to inform me that the stink grass has arrived. We can go and get it now. Yes. Lin Feng nodded. He looked at the cursed doll and said, Stay here and watch the little son. I'm going out for a bit. The cursed doll smiled and said, No problem. You don't have to come back so early. You can spend the night outside too. After hearing the cursed doll's words, He Xiao's pretty face turned so red that it was as if blood was about to drip out. She didn't dare to stay here any longer. If he stayed any longer, who knew what the cursed doll would say? Lin Feng couldn't be bothered to deal with the cursed doll. He chased after He Xiao and headed to the Coiling Dragon Merchant Guild. After arriving at the Coiling Dragon Merchant Guild, the maidservant led Lin Feng and He Xiao to the VIP lounge and went to look for Long Yuetong. Not long after, Long Yuetong arrived. Long Yuetong smiled and said, This time, a total of 12 stalks of stink grass have arrived. I heard from Sister He that young Master Ji has 3 people here, so I left 3 stalks of stink grass for you. Long Yuetong handed a white jade box to Lin Feng. Lin Feng opened the white jade box and saw 3 black herbs inside. They were 1 inch long and were black in color. These 3 stalks of spirit grass were the stink grass. The stink grass didn't have any poison, but its smell was unpleasant. In reality, it wasn't a medicinal ingredient. If it wasn't for the fact that it was effective against golden-shelled insects, it would be worthless. However, it was precisely because it was effective against golden-shelled insects that it was priceless. Thank you, Fairy, Lin Feng said. Previously, He Xiao told Lin Feng that 1 stalk of stink grass cost 5 million immortal stones. 3 stalks of stink grass cost 15 million. This was only the price of friendship. If it was on the black market, the price would be even higher. Lin Feng took out 15 million immortal stones and handed it to He Xiao. At that moment, a group of more than 10 people entered the lounge. The person in the lead was a rather handsome young man. Long Zifei, I'm here to discuss business with a guest. What are you trying to do by bringing a group of people in? Long Yuedong's expression became unsightly. Since this person called Long Zifei also had the surname Long, it meant that he was also a member of the Long family. Long Zifei said, "Aren't there still 3 stalks of stink grass in the treasury? I heard that you transferred those 3 stalks of stink grass away. Bring those 3 stalks of stink grass to me." Long Yuetong said with a gloomy expression, "I've already sold the 3 stalks of stink grass." "Sold? You sold them to this person in front of you." Long Zifei pointed at Lin Feng, then looked at Long Yuetong and asked. "Yes." Long Yuetong nodded. Long Zifei's expression immediately became gloomy. He said, "These 3 stalks of stink grass are needed by a friend of mine. Now, return this brat's money to him and get the stink grass." Long Yuetong said coldly, "Long Zifei, don't go too far. This is also my friend, and my friend also needs it. Moreover, we've already completed the transaction, so there's no way to break it now. If it's your friend, then it's even easier. If it's a stranger, then it'll be more troublesome," Long Zifei said indifferently. He was very domineering and did not allow Long Yuetong to refute him. Although Long Yuetong was very angry, it was obvious that he was still extremely fearful of Long Zifei. It seemed that Long Yuetong's background was probably not as good as Long Zifei's. Or else, he wouldn't be so afraid of Long Zifei. 12 stalks of stink grass, and you alone took 8 stalks. As the vice president, don't I have the right to take 3 stalks? Long Yuetong said coldly. Obviously, she was still persisting. He didn't want to take the 3 stalks of stink grass back from Lin Feng. If he wanted to go back, this was too much of a disgrace to a friend. How could he be friends with Lin Feng and He Xiao in the future? He probably wouldn't even be able to be friends in the future. Chapter 52:10. Long Zifei had gone too far. Because he was really too much of a bully. Moreover, he was bullying a woman. The reason why Long Zifei dared to bully Long Yuetong like this was naturally not without reason. Although Long Yuetong was also a direct descendant of the Long family, and his ability was also very outstanding. But Long Yuetong was not a member of the first main branch. Large clans and forces like this were naturally formed by many main branches. Long Yuetong belonged to the 5th main branch. Long Zifei was a member of the 1st main branch, and he was also the grandson of the 1st main branch's great elder. His status was much higher than Long Yuetong's. In addition, the 5th main branch that Long Yuetong was in had already weakened to a great extent. It was even possible that they would be stripped of their qualifications as the main branch. If the main branch's qualifications were stripped away, then the status of their branch would plummet. The resources that their branch would receive would also be greatly reduced. With the decrease in resources, it would be even more difficult for their branch to make a comeback. The 1st main branch, on the other hand, controlled the life and death of the 5th main branch. The people of the 5th main branch were naturally very respectful towards the people of the 1st main branch. Lin Feng knew that Long Yuetong was caught in the middle and was in a difficult position. Therefore, Lin Feng felt that he should say something now. He didn't want Long Yuetong, this charming woman, to be in such a difficult position. If Long Yuetong continued to speak, he would even be humiliated. Long Zifei was a person who could do such a thing at a glance. This guy was completely siding with outsiders. For the sake of outsiders, he was able to humiliate his own family. Fortunately, this guy wasn't a member of the Lin family. If he was a member of the Lin family, Lin Feng would have beaten him half to death long ago. Lin Feng said indifferently, "What kind of ability is bullying a woman? Don't you find it embarrassing? Bullying a member of your own family, you really are a traitor. Fortunately, I don't know such a person, otherwise, I would feel embarrassed because of such a coward." Lin Feng almost pointed at Long Zifei's nose and scolded him. Although he didn't mention any names, everyone knew who Lin Feng was scolding. Long Yuetong and He Xiao's expressions couldn't help but change slightly. They knew what kind of person Long Zifei was. Long Zifei had a vengeful personality. Now that Lin Feng had offended Long Zifei like this, how could Long Zifei let Lin Feng go? Therefore, they couldn't help but worry about Lin Feng. When Long Zifei heard Lin Feng's words, he was first stunned, then his face turned completely gloomy. Lin Feng actually dared to scold him like this. Of course, Long Zifei was very angry. This is equivalent to under the watchful eyes of the crowd. It was like being slapped by Lin Feng. The people who followed Long Zifei couldn't help but be shocked. Some of these people were from the Long family, while others were Long Zifei's friends. They did not expect that there was actually someone who dared to insult Long Zifei on Coiling Dragon Island. He even dared to scold Long Zifei. Did he not want to live anymore? Brat, you dare to scold me? Long Zifei looked at Lin Feng with a gloomy expression, his eyes flashing with killing intent. Pfft, are you worthy of being scolded by me? Don't flatter yourself. Lin Feng curled his lips and said, looking at Long Zifei with an extremely disdainful gaze. Everyone had a shocked expression on their faces. Originally, everyone had guessed Lin Feng's answer. There were generally two ways to answer this question. First, Lin Feng didn't admit that he had scolded Long Zifei. The possibility of this was naturally very high. After all, Lin Feng might have scolded Long Zifei out of impulse. After reacting to it, he would probably start to feel afraid. He started to regret it. So he might as well not admit it. Second, Lin Feng admitted that he had scolded Long Zifei. Usually, if one chose this kind of situation, they would have absolute confidence in themselves. Actually, these people didn't know Lin Feng's background, but Lin Feng was really too young, so they would naturally look down on Lin Feng. However, what they didn't expect was that Lin Feng didn't treat Long Zifei according to the two ways they had guessed. Instead, he said that Long Zifei didn't even have the qualifications to be scolded by him. Seriously. He was clearly looking down on Long Zifei. Who is this kid? Why is he so pretentious? Someone whispered. Lin Feng's actions. In their eyes. It was too pretentious. I don't know, he looks very unfamiliar. Someone said. Then someone sneered. He's just a brat who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. So just wait and see, this brat will definitely not have a good ending. No one has ever dared to speak to me, Long Zifei, like this. Long Zifei looked coldly at Lin Feng. Lin Feng said, Is that so? That's because you're a frog in a well, and the people you meet are all unrated characters. Brat, what are you talking about? The group of people who followed Long Zifei immediately looked at Lin Feng angrily. Lin Feng's words just now had even scolded them. This infuriated the group of people. Lin Feng said, Do you not understand human language or what? At this moment, He Xiao and Long Yuetong could only smile bitterly. Lin Feng was truly fearless. These people. They were all extremely terrifying characters. If one offended them, they wouldn't have a good ending. However, Lin Feng didn't seem to put these people in his eyes at all. The two of them didn't understand why Lin Feng didn't put these people in his eyes. A strong dragon couldn't suppress a local snake. Although Lin Feng was extraordinary, he was still too young. Brat, you're courting death. The group of people glared at Lin Feng. One by one, they rubbed their fists, wanting to take action against Lin Feng. He Xiao and Long Yuetong stepped forward, wanting to protect Lin Feng. No matter what, they had to protect Lin Feng. Get out! But just then, Lin Feng sneered and waved his sleeve. Instantly, a powerful force swept towards the group of cultivators. Bang! 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 Following that, a series of violent collisions rang out. One cultivator after another. They were all swept away. Then, those people. They fell outside in an incomparably sorry state. Many of them had bruised noses and swollen faces. What happened? Many cultivators outside could not help but cry out in alarm as they hurriedly surrounded them and pointed at them. How could this be? I want your life! The cultivators who had fallen to the ground cried out in disbelief, and then got up from the ground, wanting to fight it out with Lin Feng. However, they had just stood up from the ground. A powerful pressure filled the air. It directly suppressed these people. Plop! 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 One cultivator after another was unable to withstand the powerful pressure and directly knelt on the ground. He Xiao was dumbfounded. Long Yuetong was also dumbfounded. They didn't expect it. Lin Feng was actually so terrifying. What cultivation level was Lin Feng at? Chapter 52:11. The shock in He Xiao and Long Yuetong's hearts was almost indescribable. Now, they looked at Lin Feng with deep shock in their eyes. There was also a lot of splendor. Originally, He Xiao was interested in Lin Feng. Now, she was even more curious about Lin Feng. Long Yuetong didn't know much about Lin Feng before, and only felt that since Lin Feng was the man He Xiao liked, he should be quite extraordinary, right? However, Long Yuetong didn't expect Lin Feng to be so tyrannical. So many geniuses. In front of Lin Feng. They couldn't even withstand a single blow. Seriously. It was shocking. Long Yuetong couldn't help but become extremely curious about Lin Feng. Women often like to rely on the strong. If this expert was young, handsome, and had a good personality, that would simply drive women crazy. In the eyes of many women, Lin Feng seemed to be such a man. The cultivators who were kneeling on the ground outside had now come back to their senses. Lin Feng was simply too powerful. So powerful that it made them feel as if they were ants. This feeling was extremely terrible, but it was so real. Although their hearts were filled with incomparable pain for Lin Feng, those people didn't dare to say anything more. Right now, Lin Feng was only asking them to kneel on the ground. If they said anything more, he was afraid it wouldn't be as simple as kneeling on the ground. When the time came, perhaps Lin Feng would really dare to kill them. The young master inside is really terrifying. I wonder what his cultivation level is. I've never seen this person in the sea god's domain. I wonder where he came from? I'm not sure, but he seems to be very young. Could he be a young genius of the human race who walked out of the divine stone? Maybe he's the descendant of a certain supreme expert of the human race? Some of the cultivators who were watching the show outside began to discuss animatedly. Those cultivators were all discussing Lin Feng's background. Lin Feng was so powerful, and his background was a mystery. It had indeed aroused their curiosity. However, after discussing for a while, they couldn't come up with a reason. Lin Feng looked at Long Zifei and said, "Your name is Long Zifei, right? I won't make things difficult for you. Remember, Long Yuetong is my friend. In the future, restrain yourself a bit. Don't even talk about you. I don't even put your Long family in my eyes. Don't implicate your Long family because of your mistake." Long Zifei's expression was unsettled after being reprimanded by Lin Feng. However, he did not dare to refute. Because Lin Feng was truly too powerful, to the point that he couldn't help but tremble in fear. Therefore, even though he felt extremely aggrieved, he could only keep his words to himself. If he dared to act recklessly in front of Lin Feng, he would definitely be punished. Wasn't that courting death? Although he didn't know Lin Feng, Long Zifei could feel that this person in front of him was definitely a ruthless character. What a boastful brat! I want to see what qualifications you have to say that you don't even put my Long family in your eyes. At this moment, a cold laugh was heard. Everyone looked over and saw a skinny old man with a gloomy face walking towards the VIP lounge. It's the great elder of the Long family's first main branch, Long Yansen. When someone saw this old man, they immediately exclaimed, "What? He's the great elder of the Long family's first main branch, Long Yansen? I heard that this person is a Tao Immortal Realm expert." Then, a cultivator said, "This is all old news. 3 years ago, Long Yansen had already broken through to the quasi-gold Immortal Realm. Now, he's only half a step away from entering the Gold Immortal Realm and becoming a true great Golden Immortal." At this moment, another cultivator said, "Great Elder, that brat inside humiliated us like this. He doesn't put our Long family in his eyes. Great Elder, you must avenge us." The few disciples of the Long family who were kneeling outside immediately shouted. These people's eyes were bloodshot. When had they ever been humiliated like today? As a result, at this moment, they were about to go crazy. Previously, they were afraid that Lin Feng would kill them, so they didn't dare to say anything. Now that they saw the backbone of the Long family, they naturally became bolder. Long Yensen looked gloomily at the disciples of the Long family, then stepped into the hall. After entering, Long Yensen fiercely glared at Long Yuetong. He said coldly, "Long Yuetong, you've made a good friend." Long Yuetong was very afraid of the Great Elder. Therefore, when he heard the Great Elder's question, Long Yuetong's face became very pale. Lin Feng said indifferently, "Why don't you say that he's a good grandson? You're just a piece of trash who pushes everything to others, especially when you encounter problems, to a woman." Previously, this Long Zifei acted all arrogant, but later on, I found out that this guy is also a piece of trash who bullies the weak and fears the strong. I was wondering why this guy was such a piece of trash. It turns out that it's hereditary. An old piece of trash who taught a young piece of trash really comes from the same origin. When they heard Lin Feng scolding Long Yensen, everyone was shocked. Long Yensen was not someone that those young masters could compare to. Long Yensen was such a powerful existence, a high and mighty figure. Furthermore, he was a quasi-golden immortal realm cultivator. This was not something that a young cultivator could contend against. However, Lin Feng knew how powerful Long Yensen was, but he still cursed Long Yensen loudly, causing everyone to be puzzled. They didn't know why Lin Feng would do this. "Grandfather, this brat is too arrogant. If we don't teach him a lesson, he will really think that our Long family is easy to bully," Long Zifei said. Now that Long Yensen was here, Long Zifei was naturally no longer afraid of Lin Feng. Instead, he sneered at Lin Feng. It was as if he was looking at a dead man. "Get out and kneel." Lin Feng looked coldly at Long Zifei. He waved his sleeve. Long Zifei was directly sent flying. Then, Long Zifei was the same as the others. He also knelt on the ground. "You dare to humiliate me like this?" Long Zifei's eyes immediately turned red as he struggled to get up. However, he couldn't get up at all. To humiliate Long Zifei like this in front of Long Yensen, he is truly audacious. That's right, Long Yensen will probably tear that brat into pieces later. That brat is dead for sure. Many cultivators started to discuss. They naturally didn't think highly of a young cultivator like Lin Feng. "Your name is Long Yensen, right? I can't be bothered to fight with an old trash like you. If you scram now, I won't bother with you." Lin Feng looked at Long Yensen and said indifferently. When Lin Feng said that, Lin Feng's expression changed. Around. Suddenly, there was complete silence. Everyone. They all looked at Lin Feng in disbelief. They couldn't even believe their ears. Because Lin Feng's words. He was really too pretentious, completely not putting a quasi-golden immortal realm expert in his eyes. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.